Am I the asshole for waking up late in order to take a shower with my girlfriend? I, 32 female, and my girlfriend, 34 female, have been in a relationship for 6 years now. For at least 3 of those, we've been taking showers together. We both work night shifts, so we usually wake up at 8 p.m., lay in bed for about 15 to 20 minutes, take a shower, get dressed, and eat something quick before leaving. Every evening, I drive her to work because it's not too far from home, around 20 minutes drive round trip, and then get back home for another hour before going to work myself. It happened a couple times now that I do not wake up at 8 p.m. The first time she was mad at me for not waking up in time. I understood at that moment that she was mad because she was waiting for me, and so I apologized for not waking up at the time that we had set, but specified that she could still take a shower without me if I didn't wake up in time. And so it happened again a couple of days ago, and I've been ruminating on this ever since. I woke up at 8:15 p.m. instead of 8 p.m., and I was getting ready to go in the shower, as we usually would around that same time every day, to end up face to face with a mad girlfriend again. So I decided to skip our joint shower time and shower when I get back home after dropping her off. The car ride was, for the most part, in total silence until she said that she was still mad at me for not waking up on time. That irritated me a bit, so I told her that I don't see why it was such a big deal for her that I didn't wake up at 8 p.m., but rather at 8:15 p.m., as we would usually lay in bed for 15 minutes before going in the shower anyway, and that she could have showered by herself. That in my eyes, the situation didn't require such an intense response on her part. She proceeded to tell me that I was invalidating her feelings, to which I replied that she had the right to be mad, but I didn't have to be yelled at for it, as I didn't think the situation called, once again, for such a degree of animosity towards each other. I then asked her, if it was so important for you that I be up at 8 p.m., why didn't you wake me up? To which she replied, why did you put the responsibility on me to wake you up? You should be able to do that on your own. That put an end to the conversation. I agree with her comment that I shouldn't depend on her to wake up, and the same way that she shouldn't depend on me to shower. I showered when I got back and texted her that we would take showers separately for a while. Thinking back on it, I'm wondering if I didn't try hard enough to understand how she felt. In that whole situation, am I the asshole? Edit. I've seen many people point out the 3-year waking routine, and I figure that I'll write it up here instead of replying individually. We've been showering for 3 years, but the whole waking up at the same time and spending 15 minutes together before getting out of bed is fairly new. She was working a day job before, and we were showering after my work and before hers, as we had that spare time in common. She got a new job a couple of months ago, and since she doesn't have a driving license, was waking up way before me to take the bus, and we would shower when we both got back home after our respective work hours. A few weeks ago, I offered her to drive her to work instead, to save her the 1-hour bus drive. For that to happen, however, I started waking up an hour and a half earlier than I used to, otherwise she would be late. That's when our waking schedules synchronized, and we started showering together before work. Edit 2, it is not an alarm issue. We both have an alarm set up for 8 p.m., and I have an additional one set at 8:15 p.m., in case we fall back asleep while laying in bed. I missed the first one, and the backup one woke me up. I'm sensing a bit of missing reasons in this one because, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say a 34-year-old should not be having this big of a blow-up about missing shower time with their girlfriend. Because if that truly was the case, I have some serious side-eye for the codependency and attachment issues of this 34-year-old woman. So that's why I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt and saying there has to be something else going on here. It's got to be something like, we don't get a lot of time together, I'm upset when we miss out on that, but what about the car rides? But what about all of the other stuff that OP is potentially doing for this girlfriend? She is refusing to communicate healthily. She is causing a lot of drama that could be eased with just speaking your mind. But no, I feel like she's playing games. So no, you're not the asshole for waking up late in order to take a shower with your girlfriend. We don't always wake up with our first alarm. That's human. That's natural. She is blowing this way out of proportion. And now, onto the update. She finally came home. She wasn't away for all this time, just had to work overtime today. She apologized, and so did I. I explained that it was important for me to know what made her so angry, as nothing that happened was intentional on my end. She said she felt like I didn't care enough to get out of bed at the regular time. So it wasn't about the shower, and it wasn't about the quality time. Just her expecting that I would be up by 8 p.m. as usual, and me not getting up. We have some things planned later tonight, and we agreed on talking more about how to deal with similar situations in the future. Thank you for all the comments, even the ones who thought that I was a crazy dude. 32 female, by the way, for missing out on some free shower sex. Glad to hear that, OP. And may this petty nonsense never meet my life. May it never introduce itself. Wow, wasn't it crazy when she spoke her mind, the problems were solved? Isn't that so crazy? Our next post is by user The Walking Dead Scene, and it's titled, Boyfriend 22 male keeps pushing for his best friend to live with us. I 24 female said no, and now we might live separately. I need outside perspective. We've been together for almost 3 years and lived together for about 1.5. A few months ago, he mentioned his best friend, 24 male, wanting to move in with us. I told him no right away because I'd feel uncomfortable and I prefer living just us two since this is supposed to be a serious relationship. We've been looking for new places to move to for months because our current spot is awful. Yesterday, he brought up the friend moving in again. Same conversation. I said no, he asked why. I explained again that I don't want a third person in our space and that it makes me uncomfortable. His reasons were cheaper rent and wanting to experience living with a friend. Today, I told him my final decision was still no. He repeated the same reasons again, especially the experience part, and I told him that if he really wants to live with his friend, then he'd have to pay my rent because I'd get my own studio. And he said okay. Like he didn't even hesitate. So I started looking at places and told him I found one, and he didn't seem fazed at all. He didn't try to figure out a compromise or say that he'd rather we stay together. He just accepted it. For extra context, we've been having issues the last 2 to 3 months. I feel emotionally neglected, and he feels like I argue and get mad at him for everything. So he just doesn't talk, which leads to him giving me the silent treatment because I will get angry no matter what he says, which I feel is his excuse to not talk at all. I feel heartbroken and lost. I will definitely ask him again, but I want to know what others think before I do anything. Edit. During today's discussion, he did say that he would rather live with me over him. But I responded with, I don't want to stop you from doing what you want. If that's what you want, I'll get a studio and you pay my rent, and that's when he said that he's down. He also works 50 to 60 hour weeks, so he's always exhausted or busy doing things. Edit 2, since many people are getting confused, yes, I told him that he would have to pay my whole rent for the studio if I moved out, but we were still together. We recently stopped doing 80-20 on rent. I pay Wi-Fi, electric, and half groceries. He pays the rent now at our place, but I cook, clean, so does he, work 2 jobs, and go to school. Either way, we had a conversation last night, and he said he would rather live with me over his friend, and he doesn't want me to move out. So I guess that's that. Since some have asked, I'm not really saving anything. I'm in debt from school, which I'm paying off. I have other bills like phone bill, insurance, cat stuff, etc. Before we moved in together, we agreed that he would pay the whole rent to help me pay off school, but I ended up paying a portion of it to help out. It got to the point where I had nothing in my savings while he was financially fine, which is why I told him that I wanted to go back to our original agreement, that beginning of November. I mean, fair enough, you can go back to your agreement, but I feel like this is a bit of an indictment on the relationship, isn't it? Everything is weird about this situation. I don't like the vibes that either of you are bringing. Like, it does sound like the relationship was on the ropes, so this is an easy excuse just to break it off. He's happy to pay your half of the rent to have you out of the apartment, and you can pay for your own studio apartment. That just seems unnecessarily wasteful, and I know that in the edit it was sorted, but like, what is wrong with you guys? This edit is a band-aid solution. Just pull the plug on the relationship. He's 22, you're 24. It's okay to start over. He wants to live with his mate. He's young. Good on him. He's not wrong for wanting that. You're not wrong for wanting to do it with him. But do you really want to be with a guy that picks his friend over you? Like, is that really a relationship you want to be in? Think on that, OP. And now, onto the update. We had a conversation before bed last night, and this morning, and he said he wants to live with me, not him. He added that it was a joke, but he didn't tell me that for over 2 hours. So I was just internally freaking out the whole time. He tried to comfort me, but I just felt awful still. Like he just let me think that, and it's hard to believe that it was just a joke. He apologized, but I still have my guard up and still have hurt feelings about it all. Last update, I forgot to mention that he didn't get me anything or plan anything for our 3rd year anniversary in September. OP, you can stay with him if you want to. That is completely fine. The advice here that you are going to get is to break up with him, especially for you guys not getting anything or planning anything for your 3rd year anniversary. You don't mention what you were doing or getting for your 3rd year anniversary, so I'm led to assume that you put in just as much effort as he did. And if this joke from him is out of the ordinary, and it feels like it came out of nowhere based on who he has been for the last 3 years, maybe it's time to put some serious consideration into whether you continue this relationship, whether it was actually a joke or whether it was a test. Good luck and have fun. My roommate's boyfriend snores. I said something, big problem. Okay, I don't even know where to begin. My roommate Claire is a good friend of mine and has been since college. Her boyfriend Mike is a good guy for the most part. I like him, but it's one of these situations where they aren't a good couple. They always get in silly fights and are constantly annoying each other. It's weird because separately they're great, but together they aren't the best couple. I'm super busy during the week. Full-time job plus full-time grad student plus hobbies. So I'm usually in bed pretty early. We have a small apartment, but since Mike works close by, he always ends up at our house. It's a little annoying because he really is there almost every night, but since I'm not around too much, basically just to sleep and eat, I try not to rock the boat. Like I said, I like him, and she's a good friend and roommate, so I figure pick your battles. But here's the one big issue. He snores so fucking loud. Like legitimate log sawyer. So loud. For whatever reason, it just really started bugging me last night. I usually can ignore it, put on some Netflix or something, but last night I couldn't sleep and was getting really frustrated, so I decided that I should say something because he really is at our house a lot, and it's definitely not the first time his snoring has kept me up. I opened her bedroom door and said, "Hey Mike, sorry, but you're snoring super loud." And that's it. I didn't berate him. I know it's not something that you can really control, plus he's overweight, so that definitely doesn't help. It stopped, and I thought that was the end of it. Claire leaves earlier than I do, and Mike usually sleeps in. So when I got up in the morning, I was just minding my own business, making my breakfast and prepping my lunch. I don't think I've ever seen Mike get up when I'm up in the morning, but this morning, he came into the kitchen when I was milling around. I was surprised to see him and joked, "Good morning, sunshine." And he started screaming at me. Not joking, straight up yelling at me. He called me a bitch, said I was super rude and condescending, said how disrespectful it was for me to wake him up when I was doing the same thing to him now. Apparently me making breakfast in my own home and waking him up is an issue. I was super freaked out and immediately just left. He's a big guy, and Claire has mentioned he has a temper, so I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to broach the subject with Claire. I'm staying late to do some housework, but also because I don't even want to go home. How should I even approach this? My mind is so jumbled, I don't even know how to formulate the right sentences. I would say speak to the landlord and have them bar him from the house because he is not on the lease. and tell Claire that her psycho fucking boyfriend can go sleep with her at his place if she wants to share a bed with him, because that is not on. Unfortunate that you didn't record it, OP. I know we can't always think of that in the moment, but, I always think record a video if you can, if at all possible, without having him attack you. If he wants to be an abusive piece of shit, he can go do that in his own house, not one that he doesn't pay rent on. And I would lay down the law with Claire as well to be like, he's not coming back. But hey, that's just me. And now, onto the update. So, a lot has happened since my post. First things first, I got a lot of heat for entering her room without knocking. Damn, people, it wasn't like that at all. Literally did the 2 to 3 courtesy knocks, opened the door all of 3 inches so I could say something, and left. It wasn't like I barged in to scream at them. I didn't even go inside. If I didn't open the door a crack, he wouldn't have heard me. Besides, she's one of my best friends, and we've lived together before. She's not some Craigslist roommate with whom I have no relationship, so this wasn't some extreme breach of privacy. I've tried earplugs, but I can't sleep with them comfortably. Literally, the only way to get someone to stop snoring is to wake them up, and since I'm not in bed with them and can't tap or nudge him, that was the only thing I could do. And after months of dealing with it, and trying to be cool about it, and multiple night after night sleepovers, I was a bit fed up with our third roommate who doesn't pay rent keeping me up. I've done the texting thing. I've done the accidentally knock the wall thing. It's that bad that I've tried numerous things to get him to stop. He knows he snores really loud, but doesn't wear the strips or do anything to help control it. I know it's something you can't control, but what am I supposed to do if I can't sleep? So that's that, and I regret nothing. So no, I'm not super rude for courtesy knocking and slightly opening my friend's door to let her boyfriend know his overstayed welcome snoring was bothering me for the umpteenth time. Anyway, I'm happy to report that this is a very positive update. Luckily, things have happened pretty quickly because it was a fairly urgent issue. I ended up staying super late at work to finish some homework, so that was a good thing because A, I got a shitload of stuff done, and B, it gave me some time to cool off, gather my thoughts, and figure out what I want to say. I gave her a call because I thought texting would be a bit complicated. I wanted to ask if we could talk about something when we got home, and she said she already knew what I was going to say, which made me nervous. So I said this isn't a conversation that I wanted to have completely over the phone, but hear me out. I explained what happened and said something like, "Look, Claire, I love you to death and I want you to be happy, but I cannot have Mike in our home. He really scared me this morning." She immediately started crying and asked me to come home. So I left right that instant. When I got there, she said he had texted her earlier saying weird stuff about how we got in an argument. There was no argument because I didn't really say anything and that I was out of line. She was going to text me about it, but knew that I was super busy and figured that she'd just ask me about it when I got back from work. Once she heard how bad it was, she felt awful. I guess he's been really verbally aggressive to her as well lately. Like I said, she's mentioned he has a short fuse and a temper, but she's done a good job of hiding how bad it really is. I guess it's gotten pretty bad, which made me start crying because I love her dearly, and it made me really sad to hear about how much she's hurting. So she totally agreed that he had overstayed his welcome, but also had no idea how I felt because I didn't say anything. It was my bad that I was just internalizing my anger about the situation instead of being honest about it, but I'm glad that that wasn't a point of contention. We didn't have to compromise about it because she knew that she wanted out. This was just the final straw. So we talked for about 2 hours about the plan of attack and how she needs to get out of the relationship. I'm glad that we were able to talk openly about it and that she felt comfortable discussing it with me. Like I said, I knew they had some issues, but I had no idea that it was this bad. Apparently, there's been a lot of yelling and minimal happiness. It's her first serious relationship, so she said she assumed this was normal after you'd been together for a fair amount of time. But she was also embarrassed and didn't want to discuss it with me because she knew that I would be worried, which is 150% correct. Although I wish I would have known, obviously. So she made a plan to meet him in a public spot and to break up with him. I said I would be supportive in any way that she needed me to be. So she asked me if I could drop her off and pick her up when it went down. I was really apprehensive about that because I didn't want to run into Mike or make the situation worse, but since that's what she wanted, I was happy to do it. So yesterday evening, I dropped her off down the street of a coffee shop and ran some errands nearby, waiting for her call so I could grab her when she was done. After an hour, she called me and asked me to pick her up. She sounded fine. I picked her up down the street and we drove back home. She said that it went surprisingly well and that he felt bad about everything, which shocked me. He agreed that it hadn't been working out, and although he tried to plead to get her back, she wasn't having it. To be honest, I was absolutely shocked. I didn't anticipate him being so calm and level-headed about it, and while I was still a little freaked out about what happened the other day, her situation was much direr than mine, and I'm obviously not holding my breath for an apology or anything, nor do I really give a shit. Although Mike seemed to be okay with the situation, we notified the landlord ahead of time of what happened, just in case he ever returns to stir shit up. I really truly hope that it doesn't, and I don't think he will, but better safe than sorry, I suppose. I'm just glad that she's okay, and that I don't have to deal with his craziness and loud-ass snoring anymore. I slept like a baby last night without him there, and plan on sleeping like a baby again tonight. Well, good on you, OP. It's good now that I have the context that she has been a very strong friend of yours, and that you didn't just go barging into the bedroom, screaming your head off, saying, "Shut the hell up, stop snoring." This was a much calmer and easier solution to the problem than a lot of situations tend to go. So I'm glad that this didn't turn into an assault case. I'm glad that police were not called and you have a stalker now that is crazily hung up on being broken up with even though he was an asshole. Let's hope that he doesn't show back up at your house again because that would not be fun. Thank you for the story and thank you for the update. Our next post is by a throwaway account and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for uninviting a friend to my wedding because of comments that she made about the type of dress I want? I'm getting married in about 6 months, if COVID eases up. I know a lot of people hate big weddings, but I've always wanted one ever since I was a teenager, and since my fiancé and I can afford it, I'm going ahead with it. I also live in India, where it's kind of the norm to have big weddings, and it's important for our parents as well. It's kinda silly, but I'm hell-bent on getting a lehenga from a specific designer who is incredibly popular in India. I just think that his work is beautiful and definitely worth the money. This is the one thing that I would not consider changing my mind on. So my best friend got all the appointments ready so that I could try on some lehengas and they could help me choose. The day before we were about to go shopping, my fiancé and I met up with Leah, friends since high school, and her boyfriend. She was always pretty judgmental when it came to wedding stuff, so at the beginning when I started to plan this, I made sure that she knew that she didn't have to get involved if she's uncomfortable with wedding stuff. Her boyfriend and her are pretty anti-marriage, hence why I asked her all of this. Leah asked me if I was excited to go shopping. I told her I was super excited. Her boyfriend then made a comment about how he thought that it was kind of selfish and stupid of girls to spend a lot of money on 1 or 2 outfits. I was kind of taken aback, I guess. I tried to just change the topic, but my fiancé replied saying something about preferences and minding your own business and whatnot, but it was all lighthearted. Things got awkward though. Later that day, Leah called me, and after a while of chatting, she asked me to reconsider buying such an expensive outfit and said that I was being snobby during a pandemic. I was hurt. She knew that I had wanted this since forever, and I told her so, and she said, "Sorry if this was mean, but it needed to be said no matter how much you like that silly girly dress. It's so wasteful, like her boyfriend had said. It causes major damage to the environment." I didn't respond. I just hung up and texted her saying that she was no longer invited. I was feeling angry, and I admit that I wanted her to feel hurt too. I told her that I didn't even know if she would still be welcome to the wedding since she thinks I'm a selfish person. She started spamming me, calling me a bad friend, that I'm punishing her for being right. I had a lovely day with my other friends, but yesterday, Leah called me again to say that even our other friends are ignoring her. I kinda feel guilty for that. She said that I was trying to exclude her just for having different opinions, so I may have to apologize. Am I the asshole? No, you set like a firm boundary there saying, you're invited, but if you start judging me and doing all this bullshit, then you will be uninvited. They heard that boundary loud and clear, and they still decided to push it. Why did they expect you not to kick them out of the wedding if you had said clearly to them, hey, don't say this or else there will be consequences? Are they brain dead? Are they stupid? It sounds like it to me. I think they are idiots that do not know how to listen. She must have got COVID and her listening comprehension was destroyed, and her boyfriend was also affected by the destruction of her listening comprehension. He was infected by it. Those comments are so rude and unnecessary, and they are bad people for saying that. And I hope they realize they are both bad people. So no, not the asshole OP. You're just properly enforcing boundaries. Good for you. And now, on to the update. There will be no wedding until things get significantly better COVID-wise, just FYI. I'm meeting Leah today and will post an update on my profile. So, on the next day, OP says, I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped me out. It means a lot to me. This is not necessarily a happy update, but that's okay. Sometimes things don't work out, I guess. So Leah came over today, and I had written down a few of the points from the comments section to discuss with her. I told her how I felt using those points, and that if she was to be so rude, I did not need her friendship. At first, things were going so well. She kept apologizing and told me that she was being a horrible person for trying to force her opinions on me. I told her that I appreciated that, and that if she was willing to recognize her mistakes, maybe we could try making it work. But then she just changed the entire argument. Leah then proceeded to tell me that it was not about the dress, but the whole wedding. She said that she thought that I was making a huge mistake by getting married, that it's a trap created by society, etc., because that's what her boyfriend had said. The thing that hurt me the most was that she told me, I know you're obsessed with kids, but be honest. Do you think that you'd be a good mum? Why do you want to bring kids into this messed up world? Isn't that selfish? That's a crazy thing to say to someone, especially when you're kind of asking for their forgiveness, just to like hit them with a, do you really think that you'd be a good mum? I mean, look at you. Oh my God. It just broke me because kids were something that my fiance and I have wanted since forever, and she knew that. I told her to get out if she truly believed this. She didn't move. She said that I was becoming really sexist now that I was getting married. This was all just because I always ask my fiance's opinion on my wedding-related stuff, by the way, which just pissed me off. She also said that it was a sign of abuse if I had to inform my fiance every time I went out, which is just so wrong because I don't have to do anything. I just choose to. He does the same. She said that she was trying to be a good friend and that my fiance is controlling and has toxic masculinity problems. My jaw literally dropped. I told her to get out again and then texted her that she was never to talk to me. My fiance is the best thing in my life, and I told her that I would not listen to her insult him. Her boyfriend then texted me and basically tried to say the same things that Leah said, which was so weird because we're not that close at all. I blocked them both, told my close family and friends that they were not invited anymore, and decided to just close this chapter of my life. I am just so tired of her. Leah has her head so far up her ass, I bet she can't even smell that bullshit anymore. She's just been living in there rent-free. All she does is listen to what her boyfriend says and then parrots that. I really do hope that she learns to think for herself someday. Oh, OP. You're basically terrible with kids. Like, why do you think you're gonna be a good mum, huh? Oh, I didn't have that original thought. That's what my boyfriend said. So of course it's correct. Like, he knows better than you. Just get rid of them, OP. Oh, my partner won't marry me, so now I'm gonna ruin marriage for everyone else because I'm jealous. Instead of having a grown-up conversation with my partner, I'm just gonna start projecting on everyone else. If anything, it sounds like her boyfriend is the one with the toxic masculinity and control problems, but hey, that's just a theory. I think it's great that you gave her a chance, OP, but let this be a lesson to keep people like that out of your life if they start trying to impose their worldview on you. You've done a great job so far, keep doing it from here on out. Our next post is by another throwaway account, and it's titled, I'm constantly being reminded that my brother is better than me. Everyone constantly says that my brother, male 28, is better than me, male 20. My parents, cousins, aunts and uncles, teachers, and even my own friends. It's been like that since I was 5, and it's not getting any better. My brother never said anything like that, for which I love him so much, but every time I see him, the only thing I see is something that I will never be. And he hasn't even done anything impressive. He still lives with my parents. But yeah, because of that, I have zero confidence in myself, and I feel like I'll never achieve anything, and I'm not even trying because, subconsciously, I know that I'll fail. Imagine every day being reminded that someone is better than you and that you'll never be better than them, every day for 15 years. Most of them say it jokingly, so every time I try to tell them that I'm not comfortable with it by not laughing or just looking at them the wrong way, the only 2 people that I know who never said stuff like that are my cousin and my brother. My father even said that sometimes he feels like he loves my cousin more than he loves me and my brother in front of me, but after he realized how fucked up that is, he corrected himself by saying, obviously not more, but close to it. But yeah, I mentally suffer because of that every day, and I have no one to share it with, and I can't just move out and start a new life. So yeah, I don't know what to do. OP replied to a deleted comment saying, things like, you can't be related to your brother. Your brother would have never done this stuff. And my favorite, your brother was an amazing student. What happened to you? My friends usually say stuff like, your brother is way funnier than you, and maybe I should leave you and start hanging out with him. But they're saying it jokingly, and I'm sure they mean no harm, but it still hurts. All I can say, OP, is that a lot of people can definitely relate to what you're feeling and what you're going through here. And I think if you have access to it, if you can do it, you'll definitely need some therapy to work through that. I believe that it will do wonders for you. In the meantime, you'll just need to have control over what you can control. And I don't think you can control what your parents say or do. So your friends, you can communicate how hurtful it is what your friends say, even if they're just saying it in jest. Maybe just asking them not to do that because it is hurtful, and if they are true friends of yours, they will understand and they will stop saying it. Otherwise, time to hit that grind culture, be out of the house more than you are in the house, and hopefully make enough money to not have to live with your parents. I don't know what solution there is besides that. And now, on to the update. First off, thank you everyone. I really needed that motivation to take control, and I'm sorry I didn't reply to everyone, just a lot of things happened. So it happened this morning before my dad and brother went to work. My dad said, your brother already got a job. When are you gonna get one? And I'm basically occupied with college because I'm mostly studying, and I got annoyed when he said that. And with the confidence that you guys gave me, I told him that I'm not comfortable with how everyone is treating me. He said that he was just joking, and that I'm apparently still too young, and he can't take me seriously. I basically said fuck you, I'm leaving, and went to pack my stuff. He came after me and started pulling me, saying I'm not going anywhere. I pushed him and told him that he doesn't decide anymore, and he told me that if I leave this house, that I'm never welcomed again. I continued packing my stuff, and he started getting physical and pushing me, so I pushed him back. He made a fist like he was going to punch me, but my brother stopped him and basically dragged him to the other room where I could hear them screaming at each other. I packed my stuff and went to a friend because I didn't know where to go. My friend skipped work so that he could be with me in case something happened. It still hasn't though, and that I can stay with him as much as I have to. This all happened in the span of 3 hours, and I'm still shaken, and I'll probably get a restraining order because if he pushes me again, I will probably hit him. My mom is blowing my phone up all day, but I'm not picking up, and I think I'm done with this family. I just hope nothing serious happens. Update within the same post. So I talked with my brother to meet up somewhere so that he can give me some documents I needed, and we met. We talked for a bit, but he basically told me that my parents don't want to see me again, and I was okay with it. He told me that if I needed something from him, to call him, but I don't think I will. I will be staying with my friend until the virus is over and I can find a place. He said he'll hook me up for a month or two until I get my first paycheck, and after that, I will have to pay. I already found a job. It's not the best and it doesn't pay much, but I can't be a chooser right now. I guess my adult life begins. Edit. I'm trying my hardest to read every comment, but there's just too many. I saw that everyone's saying that I should keep in touch with my brother. First off, I'm never leaving my brother. He's my brother, and I love him so much. He's one of the people who always supported me no matter what I did, and he is the most important person in my life as of now. When I said that I wasn't going to call him, I meant that I wasn't going to call him if I needed his help. I decided to do things alone and in my own way, but I'll always keep in touch with him no matter what. I also saw that some people said that I overreacted. My father literally made a fist and was about to swing, but my brother stopped him. If he wasn't there, things would have been much worse, and I needed to leave that place. And I didn't mind getting a job when he said that. I've actually been looking for a job that I can fit in my schedule, but because of the virus, I've not been able to. And my father knew that he was just making fun of it. But thank you, everyone, for the supportive comments and the critical comments. Good on you, OP. Proud of you for standing up for yourself and doing something about it. I only really said not to bring it up with your parents because I had a bit of a vibe that if they had been this controlling and manipulative for such a long time, there was always the chance that that abuse becomes physical, and it did. But I'm proud of you nonetheless for standing up for yourself. I'm glad that your brother has your back in this situation and isn't a golden child, brown-nosing snitch like we see so many times in these stories. I hope your parents stay gone and keep out of your life permanently after this. What they did was completely messed up. You deserve better, and I know you will get better. Good luck with the grind. I know you got this, brother. Am I the asshole here for telling my wife that I will lose respect for her if she doesn't apologize? My wife and I have 3 kids. Thursday, my wife was helping our 9-year-old with her homework. She was supposed to fill in a chart with the times tables. That was a hectic day. Our 4-year-old threw up, and I was trying to clean him up, and my wife was having trouble getting our 9-year-old to focus on what she was doing because she kept looking at me. Our 9-year-old hates math and is pretty bad at it, which annoys my wife, who is usually fantastic at math. My wife asked our daughter what 7 times 7 was. Our daughter said she didn't know. My wife kept telling her to try to think of any answer. She kept saying she didn't know. My wife was getting frustrated. Our daughter finally guessed 37. My wife said, "Close, 47. Our 13-year-old then said, "No, Mum, it's 49. My wife snapped at that point and told him to shut up and go upstairs. He went into the backyard instead. She took a deep breath and then went into our room. I finished with our 4-year-old and then went outside. I tried to talk to him, but he didn't want to listen. He kept saying, "But Dad, 7 times 7 is 49. I told him his mum just got frustrated and didn't mean to yell at him. He kept insisting that 7 times 7 is 49, which I'm aware of, so I got nowhere. I went back inside to talk to my wife. She said she knew she shouldn't have yelled at him. She said she was frustrated because he was distracting her, and that's why she made the mistake. I pointed out that she made the mistake before he said anything. She started crying and asked why I was being so critical. I apologized and told her that I loved her. We hugged it out, but then I asked her if she was going to go and apologize to our 13-year-old. She said no because he shouldn't have interrupted her. She said he was rude and needed to learn not to interrupt. I told her it's not okay to tell him to shut up. We went back and forth, and finally, I said I won't be able to respect her as much if she doesn't apologize. That really hurt her. She said she needed space. She hasn't said a word to me or him since Thursday. I know that what I said is harsh, but I can't respect someone who won't apologize when they make a mistake. Am I the asshole here? My sister says I am because I'm not being supportive, and our 13-year-old is a lot. In the comments, a lot of people forget that adults aren't always right and children aren't always wrong. She needs to apologize for snapping at your child. OP says, I told her that, but she said that it has nothing to do with the math problem and that it's about his bad habit of interrupting. I think that since he was trying, and succeeding really, to be helpful, that doesn't count as interrupting. He didn't interrupt. He offered a correction which his sibling actually needed. Your wife was wrong. Would have made your kids wrong, and your 13-year-old was actually being helpful. Is your son really a lot? Or is he just dismissed so often that he finds other ways of getting attention? I mean, this is a very small glimpse into your family dynamics, but this story just made me feel really badly for your kid. He kept saying it's 49 because he's right and wanted it acknowledged. All your wife had to say was, oh, oops, you're right, and used that as a lesson to help your 9-year-old learn that it's okay to be wrong, and even when you're good at something, you can still make a mistake. The fact that your wife has iced out her husband and son over multiplication is frankly embarrassing and juvenile. OP replies, a lot is vague and kind of unfair. I used that phrase only because my sister did. He's 13. He never wants to come inside when we tell him to. He always wants to take the dog on a walk or ride his bike, even if the sun is down, which we don't allow. He frequently wants to practice his recorder when we've told him that it's quiet time. These are behaviors that we are working on, but they do seem to be getting to my wife. As for the interrupting, it is an issue that we are working on. I don't think it justifies snapping. It should be an ongoing conversation. I also don't feel like this counts as interrupting because he was trying to be helpful, not derail the topic. Emily Ann replies, I would take a good hard look at he never wants to come inside when we tell him to, and maybe think about why that might be, instead of looking at it as a problem that he's causing for you. Right now, he's just enduring days of passive-aggressive silent treatment when he didn't even do anything wrong, and you can't figure out why he wants to stay outside the house longer instead of coming into the hostility and tension? You got nowhere trying to talk to him because you were making excuses for his mum's bad behavior toward him, and he desperately wanted to validate that he was right. And yet you said that he didn't want to listen because he didn't agree to sweep his mother's nastiness under the rug to keep the peace. Good for him. Dude, please stand up for your kids. All of that and then some, OP. Please, your wife obviously has a listening problem here. Don't you contribute to that one too. It's no good for your kids. What example are you guys setting for the future of healthy, transparent communication that you claim to want to be promoting in the household, yet instances like this where those lessons you're trying to instill are the most important? You are failing, and you refuse to acknowledge that you are failing, and you're only further harming your child. Your wife was incredibly out of line in this instance, and you seemed to make up with her personally, but you didn't do anything to help her reconnect and apologize to your son. You guys really need to have a serious sit down about this one. And if it doesn't improve, you guys do need to get some family counseling to figure out what you're doing wrong. She says he's the one with the problem when he didn't actually do anything wrong. She's saying he's childish. That's just projection. Please do something about your wife. And now, onto the update. So my wife got up before our alarm and started cleaning our bathroom. I started the laundry and made breakfast. She didn't say a word when she sat down to eat. She ate much faster than normal. She stood up, picked up our 4-year-old, and told our 9-year-old to get ready because they were going to the library. She didn't say anything to our 13-year-old. I told her that we need to talk, and she shook her head. I followed her upstairs and insisted that we need to talk. She just kept shaking her head. She went into our 4-year-old's room and locked the door. I went downstairs and told our 13-year-old and 9-year-old that we are going to the dog park. They both asked if Mum was okay, and I said yes, and that she needed space. I grabbed some clothes for our 9-year-old from the laundry room, and she got changed in the downstairs bathroom. We are at the dog park, and my wife is refusing to answer my texts. I'm starting to think that this isn't about math. And I say good luck to you going forward from here, OP, because that does not sound like a fun time at all. I hope that whatever troubles she's having, you guys can figure it out in a healthy way together. Because that's no way to treat you, and that's no way to treat your kids, over something that she started, over something that is her fault. Please consider coming back with a further update as to what you've done to resolve this situation, because right now, this is incredibly passive-aggressive and childish from her end. Our next post is by user Strange Cut, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for wanting to charge an 11-year-old for theft and destruction of property?" So about a week and a half ago, my son's phone was taken from his bag at primary school. I managed to track it using Find My iPhone, and it led me to a house. From that house, I banged on the front door and was answered by a mum. I explained that I tracked my son's phone to this house, and from there, discovered that her son and 2 of his friends had just been there. She calls him, and then I follow her in my car to a second kid's house. At this house, all 3 kids are there, and I tell them that I don't care who stole it, just hand it back and it's done. All 3 kids swear black and blue that they have never seen it and don't know nothing about it. I exchange numbers with the mum from the first house and the dad from the second house, and then I have to leave knowing full well that one of them has it. I get home and receive a call from the mum from the first house. She has checked the security cameras from her house and discovered the kid from the second house who swore that they've never had a phone is miraculously holding a phone in the footage. This has already been sent to my dad, and next minute, I get a message from the guilty kid's mum asking if she can come to my house. Her and her son arrive teary-eyed and apologetic. I just ask for the phone back, and she shakes her head, saying that he has smashed and destroyed it. It was only an iPhone XE, so not expensive, but as a single mum working full-time, that was my only means of communication with my son. She asks if she can go buy me a phone now, but I ask if she just contributes $100 and I will find a similar phone off Marketplace, as I prefer an iPhone, as I connect it to mine and can monitor parental controls and other settings. She agrees and is happy to pay that. It has been over a week now, and she's now stopped replying to any messages and won't answer my calls. Last message I sent was me saying if I didn't receive payment, I would report and charge her 11-year-old. So am I the asshole if I charge him for theft and destruction of property? Also, as a side note, I have camera footage, admission of guilt in her text messages, and agreeing that she would pay, as well as her son admitting to the school that he stole it as well. So I have enough evidence to go forward. Bit of a case of actions have consequences here, right? I think you have been above and beyond and reasonable in this situation, OP. I don't even think you bother with these threats anymore, just file that report. She obviously lied to you about giving you that money to make the problem go away, so why would you trust that this threat is going to do anything? Perhaps the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree in this situation. Also, I think that kid needs consequences for his shitty behavior, or else he'll never learn from this. I think one hard lesson would beat a lifetime of repeat drama. It's not like the kid is gonna magically grow out of this phase if no one calls it out, so please do that, OP. And now, onto the update. So after not responding to my messages for over a week, I messaged last night saying that I was going to go to the police in the morning to make a report. And the money was transferred this morning. I read all the comments, why I didn't report first, and it's because I guessed I waited so long, as I still want to think that people will do the decent thing, and didn't want to have to go down the police road for a minor amount, as they have more important things to do. At the end of the day, though, I'm not going to raise my son to be walked all over and to stick to your word. But all sorted now. That's great, OP. A lot less dramatic than I would have hoped it to be, but I still wish he just went straight to the cops. But at the same time, I know that his future behavior and his outcomes are not your problem. Like, it is not your job to give him the consequences for his actions right now so he doesn't do it again in the future. And that's fine, I agree with that. I say good luck to that mother with whatever behavior this spirals into in the future. And also, thank God I don't have kids, and I don't have a shit son like that is going to go cause trouble that I will have to then bail him out of, like his mum has in this instance. So, good luck to her. Thumbs up to that one. Our next post is by user rumthief1, and it's titled, How do I, male 32, deal with my fiancé's female 34 brother-in-law going forward? So me and my significant other are getting married in February next year. Been together nearly 8 years. I absolutely love that woman, and we work so well together. But her brother-in-law has always been a pain in the ass from the start. He very quickly decided for some reason that the best way to deal with me is just to pretend that I'm not there. If I ask him a question or how he is doing, he won't respond. He'll talk to other people around us exclusively, such as his wife, his sister, mother, and family friends. It's gotten to the point that I know that there's other people who have mentioned it to him, but he doesn't care. I've tried to have a conversation with him at least once, but we've never even had that. The most I've ever got from him was how was I doing and whether I wanted a coffee once. Things got quite distressful during the COVID pandemic as he was getting married in that time. So when he had to reduce numbers, he uninvited me and asked my mother-in-law-to-be to tell my significant other. This devastated her and me. Yes, he had to reduce numbers, but it conveniently turned out that I was the only partner who wouldn't be invited as a +1 at that point. I was then re-invited when numbers and wedding restrictions lifted and seriously considered not going. But I went as my significant other begged me. Since he and his wife have had children, I feel more tense. I don't feel welcome at his home. I know his wife tries to talk to me to include me in things, but it just makes things awkward when he clearly tries to have conversations in the room with others as if I'm not there. He tells his children to hug his sister and doesn't mention me. I've heard what he says when I'm not around, but not all of it. About how it's not natural for families to have same-sex parents, or how immigrants are taking over the country and the nation is losing its way, or jokes about mixed-race couples. But since none of it is ever mentioned when I'm around, I'm limited in what I can do. The prospect of having to endure this for the rest of my life is a worrying one. I've spoken with my partner about it, and it upsets her. I feel awful, as she wants him to come to the wedding, and I don't anymore, even if he won't have an active role in it. I feel I've been treated invisibly for too long to want him there, and she says she can't help how he acts, but since her father passed away 10 years ago, he is the last link that she's got to him. She has suggested asking him not to come with great effort, but then that means that our sister-in-law won't come. So how do I resolve this? This piece of shit is coming to the wedding. I've cut out others from the RSVP list who have treated me poorly this year, but he's exempt. How do I just accept it? Edit, I should clarify, he's her brother and my brother-in-law-to-be. I take what he says when I'm not around a bit more seriously, as I'm also a minority. In the comments, Square OK says, It's your significant other's responsibility to stand up for you and speak to her sibling. Set hard boundaries, and at the very minimum, ensure that you are treated with respect. How is she okay with tolerating this treatment? It shouldn't happen at all. OP replies, She's definitely not okay with it, but she feels stuck. I don't hold her responsible for his choices. She has tried to talk to him. He doesn't care, but it's hard explaining to people how others who have treated us poorly were uninvited from the wedding, such as one of my aunts and some cousins, but he still gets to come. She's not stuck. She's a big girl and has every right to demand that you be treated with respect. Just because it's her brother doesn't mean that you have to tolerate him and his ignorance. DC Purple Tart says, I have more of an issue with your future wife, honestly. I would never let my brother talk to my fiancé that way or treat him differently. I would go low contact with my own sibling to protect my partner. That is what we do. It's what your fiancé should be doing. Unfortunately, if this is how it's been for 8 years, it doesn't sound like much is going to change. The sister-in-law hasn't helped. The in-laws haven't helped. Your fiancé hasn't helped. Sad to say, but this is your life unless you do something to change it. If it had been this long, I would call a family meeting with the 6 of you and figure it out. There is no room for that level of disrespect in families. OP says, he doesn't talk to me like that. He just doesn't acknowledge me at all. She has had a go at him when I'm not around. He just doesn't care. He's even accused her of acting black before, just because she was watching some TV. What does that mean? Oh my god! That's crazy. She doesn't let it happen any more than she's responsible for his choices. She has, with great sadness, said he can be uninvited, but then I feel like shit when that comes up. DC Purple Tart replies, got it. Still really stinks. I think if your fiancé is okay with uninviting him, then you shouldn't feel bad. You should only have people at your wedding that fully support you both and your marriage. He clearly can't do that, and you can say exactly that if anyone has an issue with his non-invitation. OP replies, she's not alright with uninviting him though. She's only suggested it to make me happy. But it's not something that she really wants, as then her sister-in-law won't come, and neither will her niece and nephew. I mean, for me personally, I wouldn't let him come to the wedding. He said horrendously racist things behind your back, and he's obviously too much of a bitch to say it in front of your face because he knows it's wrong. And your fiancé, for all intents and purposes, is accepting of that behavior if she wants him to come to the wedding. Having him in the wedding and be a part of it is not an exemption to her accepting that this is who he is and she is okay with this behavior. She has said that she's not okay with this behavior. So why do her actions not follow her words? Is she just giving you lip service, OP? Your question, how do I accept how I'll be treated by my brother-in-law from my significant other going forward? Don't accept it. It's your wedding as much as it is hers. This is a 2 yes, 1 no situation. If she can't find a compromise in this 2 yes, 1 no situation, and this is a hill that you will die on, and in my opinion should die on, then that's just something she'll have to accept. If she wants to be with you this bad, then she will deal with it. And now, on to the update. Hi all. I did a post about a month ago covering this issue that I was having. I don't know if Reddit has been the best place to go, but it's cathartic to at least write out how I'm feeling. The comments are appreciated, even the criticisms. While I haven't been able to respond and see every single one, I truly do understand and appreciate where they're coming from. So, I had spoken with my significant other about the fact that her racist, misogynistic brother is coming to the wedding. In fact, up until last week, we've been having a lot of arguments about it. I'd explained how awful it feels that someone who uninvited me from his wedding gets to come to ours with the things that he says and does and how he's treated me these past 8 years. My significant other has said in turn that the situation is complicated. They always say that. There was a time where he wasn't always this twisted and there were good moments with him. He'd also looked out for her and his mother when his father died unexpectedly about 10 years ago, and she won't have him have an active role in the wedding. She'll only have him in photos with her and her mother, and he'll be a passive participant at the wedding, not an active one. I pointed out that it's the fact that he's coming at all. Things came to a head a couple of weeks ago. We stayed up really late on a work night talking about it. That day, I had told her that I would be starting therapy again, as her decision about her brother cut me quite deeply, and I need to do some work on it. She didn't fight to defend his place in the wedding this time. Instead, she apologized. She said she underestimated how inviting him, which she states was a really hard decision for her, would make me feel, and for that, she's sorry. She now has to accept that she's made the wrong decision. She feels guilty because she thought that it was the best choice overall compared to potentially compromising the relationship with the sister-in-law and nephew and niece, and that she agonized over the decision. I told her that it didn't seem like she struggled all that much, especially with how hard she fought and argued for him to have a place there. I told her that I see her differently now, as I've never seen her fight that hard for anything, and then she fights for him. She apologized and said she knows that she made the weak decision and wishes that there was someone that I could invite that would make her uncomfortable, just so that she could feel better and tolerate it for me. What the fuck? She says she knows that I can do better with someone else who wouldn't be as weak, who could have made a hard decision, and she has to live with what she's done. Apparently, her friends are also questioning her on it, although she won't give me names, and I'm suspect to how true that statement was. I know my mother did, and like a fool, I argued against my mum to defend her. The next day, I'd told her that there was a part of me which actually considered leaving. Of course, things blew up. It came up again about how hard the decision was for her. I'd explained that I know how complicated family situations can be. My abusive, drug-addicted father had single custody of me virtually my whole childhood over my mother, and in the end, I had to make the hard choice to cut him off completely. I've even uninvited some of my closest family members because of how they acted at my sister's wedding, and then towards my significant other and me. She offered to tell her brother not to come, but I feel after all the arguments we've had, and how I never really got asked for my opinion on it, it feels too little too late despite her guilt. And as much as I'm trying not to, there is a part of me that hates myself and resents her. I said to her that I feel as if someone with more self-respect would have stopped tolerating all of this long ago. I started therapy this Thursday past. It was good, hard, but good. The problem is, as I said to my significant other, this whole situation's been a kick in the teeth to me. And as much as she's sorry, I see her differently. The part I'd never mentioned to her is that I've never seen her fight this hard for herself, for her to lose weight. She's obese, or for me. And, as the therapist pointed out, I need to process that I don't feel as safe anymore, as comfortable to be open with her, and that's going to take time. But even then, I know that things won't be the same anymore. So how do I move forward from here? In the comments, I Love Cupcake says, "Why are you marrying someone that you don't feel safe with emotionally and who has prioritized other people's feelings and comfort over yours for what is supposed to be a day celebrating the two of you?" OP replies, "Up until this year, I didn't know that she would be capable of something like this. We had our problems, but we worked through them. We supported and talked with each other. This was a kick in the teeth, as while I get that family is rightly a non-negotiable, he is simply that unpleasant that I felt a line should have been drawn. She even called him a blight on her life yesterday." Glassgirl replies, "Except this didn't just start with a wedding invitation. She's been sitting idly by while he treated you like shit for years. Insisting on inviting him may be the first overt act, but she hasn't been a good partner." I think it's interesting how easily she made herself the victim in this situation. Oh, sis, you are such a victim. You fucker, OP. You know how hard this is on me with me being the villain? I wish that you were also the villain in this situation. I wish there was someone you could invite that made her uncomfortable so that she could feel better about herself and tolerate that for me. I'm so sure that she would just tolerate it and put up with it and not fight even harder against you than you are fighting against her right now. I believe her, OP. Doesn't sound like she's decided to go to individual or couples therapy to work on this with you, OP. It just sounds like you've gone to therapy. What the hell? You told her you're considering leaving and she's like, "I wish you did me dirty too so that we could be even and you can get back at me." And is only now conceding to excluding her brother from the wedding. My God. Sunk cost fallacy. You're allowed to step away from this one, OP. This is not a good person to marry, in my honest opinion. You don't have to stick in there just because you've invested 8 years. For some reason, everything is still all about her and she doesn't really see where you're coming from. That's how I'm interpreting this situation. It's taken you 8 years for you to see a side of her that you haven't seen before. You haven't seen it get this bad. She's breaking wedding vows before you've even made them to each other. Like, she is putting others before you. No, no, no. Oh my God, no. And now, on to the update. Some of the comments on here were right. Why didn't I just reach out to him directly and address it? So I did. I spoke with him just now. Just to chat on the phone. He was busy with his son. I said to him in less than a few months, we'll be brothers-in-law, and while helping to prepare everything, it had occurred to me that we're basically strangers to each other, and I asked him for his thoughts. I asked him if there was anything that I could do or say. whether there's something that I'm not understanding about the situation or what we could do to bridge that gap. He said that he's got no problem with me marrying his sister. I didn't bring it up, and referenced a previous time that he didn't say hello to me when I was in the house. He explained that he's often got a million things to juggle, and due to him forgetting things as he gets older, he doesn't mean to, he's just busy. And that's not what he means to do when I'm over. I did say in all these years, it felt like we had never really talked. He even gave advice for me preparing a speech and suggested that we do something over the Christmas period where he's less busy. I felt like that was a start. To be honest, I'm surprised I even reached out to him myself. But some of the comments on this thread made me realize that should be something that I do. I know about the prejudices, but he was surprisingly okay when it was just me and him talking with no one else around. No comments about deportation or remarks on feminism. I feel even more confused, and yet I feel better at the same time. Even if it means nothing, I did the mature thing and reached out. It's time that I started standing up for myself more. Okay, OP, good luck with that. That's not what I would have done in this situation, but that's what makes stories like these unique. It's interesting seeing the outcome of actions in which I myself would personally not take. He may let 1,000 blossoms bloom when you are face to face with him when you are one-on-one, but behind closed doors and behind your back, he will still be making those comments. He will still be harboring these viewpoints. Hopefully you come back with another update in the future and let us know what the hell is going on. What I can see from this is a potential Ron Stallworth kind of moment. That retired police officer who infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan, and he did a lot of work changing the minds of people who had different opinions to him. That is one potential scenario that I can see from this. Who knows, but I am very interested to see where this goes from here. So keep us updated, keep us posted, OP. Good luck. My boyfriend believes that we shouldn't be together because his female friend told him that our zodiac signs are not compatible. This is slowly getting ridiculous. My boyfriend of 2 years has a female friend. They were close since middle school, so she's been in his life more than most of his other friends. I guess this is why he listens to her and her opinions on a lot of matters, including our own relationship, which I found out recently. What is happening is that every time we've had a fight, he was going to her to vent about our problems. I was okay with this for a long time. I never really thought that something would be wrong. They were friends for a long time. I trusted him, and I wasn't jealous of their friendship, but for a few months, I've noticed a sudden change in my boyfriend's behavior after our fights. Instead of trying to resolve things like we always do, he would get passive-aggressive, ignore me for days, and throw around, "Maybe we should break up," quite often. I was really surprised, because our fights aren't that serious. For example, ever since we moved in together, we have this agreement that I'm cooking our meals and he cleans everything after. For a week or so, he wouldn't, no matter how many times I've asked, because as he said, Leos don't like to be pushed around. Yeah, every time we fight, he would just say some stupid shit like this. So I confronted him yesterday and asked him what has gotten into him. Apparently, his female friend has gotten into astrology and decided that we are not compatible because I'm a Cancer and he's a Leo. He then blamed our little fight on our signs' incompatibility and told me that she's pretty spot on with her descriptions of our relationship, and he started to believe that we are not a good match. This is so stupid, I thought he was joking, but nope. Now I'm thinking if this is even something worth fighting for. I don't believe astrology. I don't think it's an answer to all of the problems that we face, but he's certain that it's because his female friend told him so. I was thinking about meeting up with her, but I don't know if I should, or maybe with both of them to see what the problem really is. Part of me doesn't want to throw away this relationship. Those were a good 2 years before he started acting like an idiot, but another part of me is bewildered by the amount of stupidity of my boyfriend and his friend. Eat Shiitake says, "Do you really want to be with someone so gullible and weak-minded?" OP says, to be fair, he wasn't like that for a whole 2 years that we've been together. Just recently. I'm thinking if there's something going on between them, and this astrology bullshit is just a way to end things on their terms, maybe. Guakward Silence says, it could be his way of finding an out. If he's throwing around suggestions of breaking up during every fight, and now he's using zodiac signs as a reason to break up, then he sounds like he's just looking for reasons to end it. He could very well have feelings for this girl, but even if he doesn't sound like a good boyfriend. I would leave. Or maybe that friend wants to get with him and is manipulating him. He's pretty stupid to fall for it, especially like this, but still. I was thinking the same. I wouldn't be surprised if the friend's sign is miraculously hyper-compatible with OP's boyfriend. Oh yeah, no, if you start bringing up stupid shit like this in fights, I definitely am going to think, yeah, there's something else going on here. This is just an excuse. You're just going to keep finding stupid excuses like this to one-up me in arguments. Or just to not do what you should be doing, like what the bare minimum is. But at the same time, like if he's saying maybe we should just break up every time you have a fight, why not just break up? It just seems like the writing is on the wall at that point, and maybe you shouldn't be together with this person. That's not a healthy way to have a disagreement, being like, you know what? If you don't like the way that I'm acting, why don't you just break up with me? What? Okay. What's the point of this relationship then, huh? And now, onto the update. So I've decided to post a follow-up because my original post gained a lot of attention. I've received plenty of advice, and many things have happened ever since then. Be prepared for a long-ass ride. This whole situation is a great lesson to me, and I'm working on myself to stop being so naive and gullible. We are not together anymore, which is a good thing. But we didn't break up right away. I ended up confronting my boyfriend about his friend, her input in our relationship, and him seeking validation from her. As many of you have guessed, there was much more to their friendship that I knew about. I'm not sure how far they went to this day, but to the people that were saying that they're using this whole zodiac incompatibility as an excuse, you were right. We took a break at first, because when I've decided that I want to end things on my own terms, my now ex-boyfriend switched the narrative. Surprisingly enough, he decided that he's not ready to let me go, and that he will cut out his friend if it meant that we would stay together. And I was stupid enough to believe him. 1 week later, I've decided that I'll give my boyfriend another chance. We decided on new boundaries, and everything was going smooth for the first 2 weeks. That's until I noticed that my boyfriend is being suspicious with his phone, taking it with him even when he's taking a bath. One time, he forgot to mute his phone, and I heard the Facebook Messenger signal coming from the bathroom while he was, supposedly, taking a bath. I've never, ever checked his phone before, and I wasn't planning to, so I just asked him to show me his messages. I guess he was surprised because I never was the type to check what he's up to, so he got quite defensive, but I wasn't planning on giving up. We had a whole argument about me not trusting him, to which I agreed that I don't, and he should just show me his phone so that we can be done with it. And he did. And guess what I found out? That he's still in contact with his astrology-obsessed friend, and their conversations aren't exactly a friendly banter. Me finding out led to even more of an argument, in which my boyfriend admitted to cheating on me with his friend, blamed it on me being a Cancer, and him being a Leo again. And then proceeded to tell me that the only reason why he was fighting to stay with me is because, as a Cancer, I'm very homely, and living with me is great. But I don't give him the thrill that his Sagittarius friend is giving him. So yeah, I kicked him out. I'm on the lease anyways, and when he tried to argue to let him stay for a few days until he finds his own apartment, I told him that as a Cancer, I'm not sure I can control my emotions and not murder him in his sleep. That's how my ex became my ex. What I've learned from this is 1, to avoid anyone who believes in astrology as a romantic partner, and 2, to be more wary of my future partner's friendships, as many things may not be what they seem. In the comments, Ravenwave says, as a Cancer, I'm not sure I can control my emotions and not murder him in his sleep. That's a good one. Good on OP for getting rid of that absolute doofus. As an Aquarius, I don't believe in any of this astrology bullcrap. Must be my free-spirited and aloof nature. As a Gemini, it's whatever. Ask me how I feel tomorrow. Motocrow says, OP is being too hard on herself. She didn't do too bad. It's reasonable to try to salvage something that you've invested in and hard to see things clearly when you're in the thick of it. I don't understand folks like her ex, though. Just go be with the person that you want to be with. Like, hello? Why drag it out with looking for an out? Just leave. This is one of those aspects of human nature that I accept because I have seen it countless times, but I still can't wrap my head around. Because he was living with a comfortable bangmaid who paid half of his bills. Dude thought that he would get to keep sleeping with both women whenever he wanted and get away with it. Yeah, sounds like it. It's just using astrology as an excuse, like I thought, when it really was just him cheating on his girlfriend and then being upset that he's been caught, when he was doing things that made it obvious that he was cheating, like going into the bath and having the notifications on and being cagey with his phone. He's just terrible all around, and he's not even good at hiding it, so thank God he did this bullshit behavior and gave you an easy out to get rid of him. As a Scorpio, that behavior disgusts me. Our next post is by user LiveSet5847, and it's titled, "Am I the arsehole for showing up to my nephew's birthday party without the cupcakes that I said that I would bake?" So a couple of weeks ago was my nephew Sam's 10th birthday. I love Sam so much. I'll probably not be lucky enough to have my own son, so I'm so happy to be able to know him. But I don't have a great relationship with my older brother. He did everything the right way. Good grades, good school, good job, good wife. I've always been jealous at how easy being normal comes to him. I did not do well in school. I got in a lot of trouble, didn't finish college, I've picked shitty boyfriends, basically every wrong choice you could make. Suffice to say, he and I are not on the same page, and he does not take me seriously. But the one thing he does appreciate is that I can bake. He asked if I could bake cupcakes for the party in a Spider-Man theme. Of course. Edited to add that Sam did not know. They were going to be a surprise. Spider-Man is just his favorite superhero. Well, then I was laid off. I didn't do anything wrong except be the last person hired. I was devastated and ended up drinking with my roommates instead of baking the cupcakes. It just felt like another in a long line of stupid things. I ended up going to the grocery store and buying cupcakes at 2 different stores, which was hard on the bus, but it was important. Thank God it's graduation season. I showed up, and I told my brother up front what happened and apologized. He said, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." He was furious. I apologized a bunch of times. I never once made an excuse. It was 100% entirely my fault. He told me that I shouldn't even come, and the cupcakes were the only reason that he had invited me. I felt awful, and I left without seeing Sam. My mum called me when I was on the bus ride home to ask why I would be such an airhead and show up without the one thing that I was invited for. She said she thought she raised me smarter than that, but then said, "Well, I guess not," with an ugly little ha at the end. I accept that I'm fully 10,000% responsible for not having the Spider-Man cupcakes, but I think I did my best to try to make up for it by getting any cupcakes I could find. I didn't show up empty-handed. I didn't put it on them to come up with a solution. Am I wrong? And was it the wrong thing to do? When asked, "Did you tell Sam that you're making cupcakes and what the theme is? Did he know about the party?" These are your the arsehole questions. OP says, "Hi. I just want to correct one thing, but I'm not arguing. I didn't tell Sam. It was going to be a special surprise for him. He wasn't expecting the Spider-Man cupcakes. That's just his favorite superhero. Sam didn't know that I was making the cupcakes. I took the toppers off the cupcakes. They were all black and white and yellow, though. I don't understand why you're making things up that didn't happen. He didn't ask for a Spider-Man theme. He didn't know that he was having a party to begin with." Not Mapped Out says, "Not the arsehole for the question that you asked for judgment on, which is if you were the arsehole for showing up without the cupcakes, given that he didn't know that he was getting Spider-Man cupcakes, and he got cupcakes in the end. I don't think that you're the arsehole for showing up. You said this was a few weeks ago. Has anyone in your family reached out or said anything about you being laid off? Do they care?" OP says, "My dad did because he saw that there was news about layoffs at my company, but no one else has said anything. They might not know. I don't think that they look at the same news that my dad does. Did he tell anyone or at least ask how you were dealing with it? OP says, I don't know if he told anyone, but no one asked how I was dealing with it. He asked me if I had gotten a new job yet. I think a week had passed, and I said no, not yet. He asked me, well, why the hell not? I said because it's only been a week. He said that if he lost his job, he would have been pounding the pavements from morning until night and knocking on every door downtown until someone would sit down with me to go over his resume. I told him that's not really how things work anymore, but that I'd already applied for a lot of jobs. And he asked, well, why am I sitting at home when I should be busier than ever? And I lost my job the day before. Blue Moon Commenter says, your family is awful, but I'm more concerned that you couldn't control your desire to drink enough to fulfill your promise. You may need to consider that you have a drinking problem that is far bigger than cupcakes. Your family is still awful, but my guess is that this isn't the first time substances have been an issue with you and them. OP says, you are correct. It is not the first time that substances have been a problem with me and them. When I was in high school, I got drunk at a party and had to call my dad to come get me. It was 2 a.m., he was very tired, and we had a minor accident on the way back to the house. He was very proud of that car because it was the first that he bought new and paid off. And then in college, I participated in the end-of-year campus party. I made a poor decision to wear new heels and drink and slipped on some stairs, broke my ankle, and needed them to come get me earlier than expected. How old are you? These things are annoying in the moment, sure, but driving a kid home from a party is pretty normal. How much do you drink? OP says, I am 31, I drink occasionally. I don't get drunk very often anymore. I had my fill of that when I was in college. So I'm assuming that you don't have a drinking problem. Where does this level of reaction come from? Have you dropped the ball like that for other things? OP says, yes. About 4 years ago, I was supposed to go on vacation with them to celebrate being out of COVID. I was not able to go because the company also had layoffs. I had to cancel last minute, and it made it all more expensive for them. They were really mad about that one. I had to save that money for rent though. I was down a roommate, but they were right that at my age I should have had savings. A few years before that, I had to move back in with my mum and dad because of a bad situation I had with a guy. They'd been getting ready to convert my room to the Grandkid Hotel, and that stopped them for a year, which ended with it just never happening because of the timing of COVID. I did not finish college, and that was probably the worst thing I chose to do to them. I was failing, and I just wasn't good enough to balance both. So I ended up dropping out. I hoped that I'd go back, but I wasn't passionate about anything, and it's too expensive to not know why I'm there. And about the living situation, OP says, my living situation is stable. I've lived with mostly the same people for nearly 7 years. The reason that I mentioned the bus is because carrying the cupcakes on the bus was difficult because they took up a lot of room. That's all. So what I'm getting from this situation is that OP is related to a lot of assholes. These are people that are very inherently selfish and judge OP for not meeting the standards that they, in their mind, expect of OP, and they have little to no empathy for where OP is at in their life, why they are where they are, and all of the societal conditions that caused OP to be in the situations that they are in and were in. It's kind of a no-win situation unless you come upon a bunch of money and elevate your position to match what they in their fantasy land minds expect of you, OP. So no, you are not the asshole for this one. You are being given an impossible goal to reach. You are being given no empathy for not achieving what they expect of you, and you are being punished for it. So no, fuck them. Don't feel bad for that. Start setting more stringent boundaries with these people, or they will decimate your mental health. I'm being so serious about that. And now, onto the update. Hi. Thanks for all the comments before about me failing to bring the Spider-Man cupcakes to my nephew's party. I think I have an okay update to share. I was sort of spiraling when I wrote my post before, and that it happens very often to me. Yes, I messed up, but life goes on. I've not been able to find a good job, but I've been making ends meet with cleaning houses. Last week, my family got together for Thanksgiving, and I surprised my nephew by bringing him a small batch of Spider-Man cupcakes, and he was over the moon. My brother thanked me for it, so that was nice. My mum said, better late than never, I guess, and she and my dad laughed together. I also baked a pie to bring, but I ended up dropping it. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself against them, and I told them that it was really hurtful that they can't ever just be supportive. That post made me reflect on all the ways over the years that they just haven't taken me seriously or have ignored my small wins because I don't get the big ones like my brother. They argued with me, and then probably the best thing ever happened. My sister-in-law stood up for me. She said that ever since she's been a part of this family, she's seen the way that they talk to me and about me and laugh at me behind my back and treat me like someone else's daughter. She said that they've been doing it for years. They tried to pull the "she knows it's out of love" card on me, and I told them that I don't feel loved by them and never have, and brought up that she said the only reason I was ever invited to that party was for the cupcakes. Mum tried to say that that wasn't true, but my sister-in-law stopped her and said that's exactly what she said. My mum and dad were quiet for a little bit, and then my dad said that he didn't realize how sensitive I am and that they'll try to do better. I was so happy. Yes, I thanked my sister-in-law so much, and we've been texting a ton. I didn't realize she liked me. I think 2026 is going to be my year, and I'm excited. My biggest hope is to find a job that helps me save money so that I can get my own place by 2028. Merry holidays, everyone! In the comments, Gerund Queen says, I thought your brother was the one who said the cupcakes were the only reason that you were invited. Did your sister-in-law stand up to your brother as well? OP says, they both did, and I guess I don't know if she said anything to him. Good for your sister-in-law, and good for you, OP. I like your sister-in-law a lot. She seems smart. She sees what's really going on, and is realizing that her in-laws will replicate this toxicity with her children in a heartbeat if she lets them. Edit to add, my own observation, as someone with a few years on me, is that so often families that have this type of toxic behavior repeat it in future generations. So OP's parents are used to a dynamic where they have a golden child and get to berate, insult, and demean the other one. Guess what's going to happen if a second grandchild arrives? I'd bet on history repeating itself, and the first one getting all the praise and the second one all the scolding. It's sickening. I'm so glad to see sister-in-law standing up. I really hope that she ripped a strip off her jackass of a husband too. OP, your parents sound like fucking awful people. Stick to your sister-in-law. And they still didn't take responsibility by saying that they are wrong, just saying that you were sensitive. That's bull. Way to go, sister-in-law. Right? That stood way out to me. OP, be prepared for them to backslide, and maybe some therapy to help you navigate this terrible dynamic that your family has. Absolutely that, and then some, OP. You do need to protect yourself from all of them going forward. This is not good. None of them actually apologized, they didn't take responsibility, and thank God your sister-in-law has some self-awareness to realize this treatment that you are receiving is down the road for her and her kids. It's not a maybe or a possibility. They will treat her the same because she is an outsider. She and her kids probably will not meet the family expectations and will be judged accordingly. As these guys say, stick to the sister-in-law. She has backed you and she will back you in the future. You guys are stronger together. Am I the asshole for going out of town for a concert while my daughter is sick? Over 6 months ago, I bought tickets to a concert 5+ hours away from my city. The concert is tomorrow, and I plan to drive down tonight after work and after dropping my daughter off at her dad's. The ticket and my accommodations are already paid for and are non-refundable. I've been really excited for this trip since I found out about it. All week, my daughter, who is 10 years old, has been homesick. She has a dry cough, slight fever, but nothing extreme, and a decreased appetite. I work from home, and it's slow season at work, so I was able to be by her side all week to take care of her. She is slowly getting better, but still not feeling great. I updated her dad on her condition so he could keep an eye on it, but now he's saying that I'm being selfish and I should skip my trip so he doesn't catch whatever she has. We share custody. During the school year, I have her during the week so I can stay on top of her schooling, homework, extracurricular activities, etc. If I'm not on top of it, he can't be bothered. Her dad picks her up from school on Fridays and has her for the weekend. I pick her back up Sunday morning just before noon to take her to horseback riding lessons, and the cycle continues. The only exception is the summer, which is a lot more hectic, but she spends 90% of her summer with me or camping and traveling with my side of the family. She first started getting sick last weekend while she was at her dad's, so if he was going to catch it, he would have already. He insists that I should be keeping her at my house until she's feeling better. I told him that I'd be dropping her off tonight after work, and he called me a selfish bitch. Am I the asshole? Edit to add, since people are asking, the concert is Papa Roach. Edit 2, I asked my daughter what she wants to do. Her response was, I want to go play Minecraft with Dad. No, she doesn't witness our arguments, they are always in text. I made it a condition in our custody agreement that everything regarding our daughter is to be discussed in writing. She knows that she is loved and that I would never abandon her if she truly needed me. With a mild cold, where she is actively getting better, she does not need me specifically. In the comments, she got sick while at his house, and he had no problem sending her to you and risking you getting infected. Your ex is just using this as an excuse to get out of childcare for the weekend. Not the asshole. This part. And you need to tell him, OP. She can clearly be cared for without catching her illness, as I have cared for her all week and I'm fine. And she was in your care last weekend when she was starting to get sick. You seem to be fine as well. And she would have been the most contagious when she was staying with him, but he was fine sending her back to OP knowing that he might have already caught it and that OP might catch it too. Not the asshole. He doesn't want you to go and have a fun weekend, OP. He is being selfish, not you. As a former family law attorney, if it's his turn to take care of her, it's his turn to take care of her. He doesn't get to take care of her just when she's feeling good. It's not Camp Daddy, it's called actual parenting, and that is his job. It's in my separation agreement that parenting time includes taking care of a sick child. It's sad to me to learn that this is even a thing that needs to be in writing, but it doesn't surprise me at all. I bet that there are all kinds of shitty common sense things that have to be added to those agreements. Family law has to be insane. Not the asshole. His time is parenting time. The hell is he thinking? That he gets to skip parenting duty so he doesn't get sick? Oh, but it's fine if you get sick or miss out on a special event. Absolutely not. He doesn't get to pick and choose father times. But I would absolutely get a standby babysitter because this clown is going to be a selfish turd and probably refuse. Exactly. It's his responsibility as a parent. He doesn't even care about the taking care of his kid while she's sick. Quote, I told her that I'd be dropping her off tonight after work and he called me a selfish bitch. Right. Because he's very clearly not being selfish in his request. Ah yes. The one using foul language towards their ex-partner is the one that is morally upstanding in this situation. Maybe the more I beat you down, the more that you will agree with me and do what I want you to do. Yes, that is a smart strategy on his behalf, and definitely will not lead to parental alienation if and when the child sees him acting this way. You just gotta lay down the law with children like him. This is your kid. You're an adult. Act like it. If you get sick, you get sick. That's what you signed up for. Maybe you should have thought twice about having a kid if you didn't want the responsibility of that child, you dickhead. Not the arsehole OP. And now, onto the update. Friday after work, I dropped my daughter off at her dad's as planned. He answered the door with a smile and hugged our daughter. As soon as she wasn't looking, he gave me a death glare. If looks could kill, I'd be 6 feet under. Before I left, I asked him to update me on her condition in the morning, so if I needed to, then I could reschedule her riding lesson. I was very specific that it needed to be before noon, 24 hours notice, or I would be out the money for the missed lesson. I tried calling on Saturday morning to check in, but he wouldn't pick up. Around 5 p.m., I got a text saying to reschedule the lesson. I went to the concert and enjoyed the show. Yes, I wore a mask. Near the end, Jacoby started walking through the crowd, climbing up and down the seats, giving fans hugs, thrashing in the mosh pit. He came right up to me, and my dumb ass was just frozen in shock. What the hell is wrong with me? I picked her up Sunday morning, and when I gave her the tote bag, her face lit up like a Christmas tree. Context for those that didn't see my comment, when I bought the ticket, I asked my daughter if she wanted to go too. She likes the songs like Come Around, Born for Greatness, Renegade Music, Leave a Light On. Her response was, I like him, but not that much. So I asked if she wanted a t-shirt or something, and she said, not a t-shirt, but I'll take a tote bag. After getting home, I found out that she didn't spend time at her dad's at all. Shortly after I dropped her off, he had his mum come pick her up. She only just got back to her dad's about an hour before I picked her back up. She said she still had fun watching TV and playing board games, but she would have preferred to play Minecraft. She's still coughing a bit, but she's got her energy and appetite back, and her fever broke before I left. After dinner, we spent the evening playing crib. Thank you to everyone who showed support and gave genuine constructive advice. I didn't expect my post to blow up like it did. To everyone who had fun roasting my taste in music, thank you for the much-needed laughs. If you would like to continue doing so, I will post a comment of some other artists that I listen to on my long drive. I think a few people made some wild assumptions by projecting their own trauma to my situation. To those people, I hope you find peace. In the comments, why is he such a bad father? Oof. Edit, to be clear, he is actively choosing to be a horrible father, and he's using his lack of care for his daughter as a weapon against OP. I feel so bad for the child. Habit and practice. His actions really don't give involved parent vibes. Ignoring calls and passing her off right away isn't great. You handled your side responsibly. He just didn't really show up here. Wow, what a total asshole your ex is. Shockingly bad. The decision to wait until you were going to lose money on the writing lesson is super transparent. I have a friend who's been navigating this bullshit with her long-term ex, with whom she shared custody of 2 kids. He seemed to live to make things harder for her, just because. Every time he had a chance to inconvenience her, mess up an established plan, etc., he jumped at it. That seems like it's the type of person your ex is. Take solace in the fact that you live rent-free in his head, and that he is evidently such a miserable person as to pull such stuff like this. It's extremely sad for your daughter, however, that he is such an absentee father, and if this continues, document it. You should consider revisiting the custody arrangement. Subtle but repeated rejections like this will hurt your daughter over time. So the dad doesn't want to risk getting sick from his daughter, but is fine risking his mum getting sick? Let's risk the health of an older woman, but not a younger man. I suppose women naturally have a better immune system around kids than men do, huh? Yeah, he's an asshole, and I can see why you aren't with him. That was my first thought. Grandma might not be frail and elderly, but she's probably at least 50 years old, so getting sick would probably be worse for her. But Dad's like, here, Mum, take my little plague vector because I must stay healthy. Hey man, that's just how some absentee parents are. They want the idea of their child without the responsibility of looking after them when they are vulnerable and sick and needing help from their parent. No, this is a job for Grandma, of course. Yeah, I don't blame you for leaving him either, OP. Screw that guy. You did the right thing in this situation, he did the wrong thing. You still got to go have fun at the concert, which sounded like a fantastic time. Hopefully, your child one day wakes up and realizes how much of a dickhead he is, and starts treating him as such. Our next post is by the user Alligator3332, titled, I have a gut feeling that my 42 female husband, 42 male, is cheating with a parent in our kids' scout troop, and I can't focus or think of anything else. So my husband is gone for the weekend, chaperoning our kids on a scout outing, and I just can't focus right now. I have a gut feeling telling me that he's having an affair with another parent in the troop 2 of our kids are in. We've been married for 15 years, together for 17 years, and have 3 kids. 14 male, 12 female, 8 male. In that time, I've never had any feeling that he wasn't faithful until this week due to a comment from another parent at this month's parent meeting. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but the gist of it was that if she didn't know better, she would think that my husband and this other parent really were married. This isn't the first time that those comments have been made, but it never bothered me when my husband told me about those comments in the past. But those comments were never really said in front of me, and it triggered doubt that I just can't overcome and made me question my trust in my husband. We've known this other parent for years, since her oldest, also 14 male, has been in scouts and other activities with our oldest since they moved to the area about 7 years ago. She is married, but I don't know how long they've been married. We never see her husband at awards nights, band concerts, or other events, and she's made some comments in the past that make me wonder about how healthy her marriage is. She's also a leader in the troop, and until they joined a mixed-gender troop pilot last year, were pretty much the only active leaders who could take the scouts on campouts and other activities. For anyone who isn't familiar with scouting rules, a minimum of 2 deep adult leadership is required for any meetings or outings, and the other adult leadership in the troop often had conflicts that prevented them from going. So if my husband and this other parent didn't go, there would be no outings for our kids. There were 2 years that they were also the only 2 adults taking 4 scouts to the week-long summer camps. He also had her contact pinned on his phone because they text frequently. Those text messages usually seem to be about scouting-related stuff. Our kids and I are also pinned and at the top of his list, so I don't think he's prioritizing her over me. There are more active leaders now that they did the mixed-gender pilot, but the other leaders are mostly women. My husband gets along with all of them pretty well, although they are the ones who make comments about them being married. I tried talking to my sister, 40 female, married, about this tonight, but she just fed into it. She wanted me to push for an open marriage like her so that she could have a wingman. But we are completely different people, and I don't want her lifestyle. Am I overreacting, or is there something there that I'm not seeing? In the comments, There Is No Spoon 64 says, I would straight up ask my husband what the hell is going on, but I'm not one for playing coy. OP says, if I could be that direct, I don't think I would be here. Honestly, I've been through infidelity several times, and I think the best approach is to stay quiet and prepare yourself. Get the irrefutable evidence together before confrontation. Decide if this means divorce. If so, get your ducks in a row financially and consult a lawyer before you confront him. This is incredibly important, as when people panic or are confronted, they can either dig down deeper and try to gaslight you, or act irrationally by draining bank accounts, etc. Please don't get trapped thinking, my husband would never do something like that, because I assure you, we never know what people are capable of when they're flailing and trying to save their marriage/life. Some comments have been made because things with counselor have become cozier lately. I think it's time for some adjustments in your relationship. Please tell me what boundaries you plan to put in place to respect your wife and protect your marriage. Back up to the post, there's an update. First, thank you to everyone who has commented so far. I've had a night to sleep on this and think about it and some of the comments or questions I received. First, I do plan to talk to my husband about this. He texted me this morning and wants to do a movie date night for the 2 of us tomorrow night when he gets back. Movie nights usually end with us having sex. So I plan to talk to him about how that comment made me feel, and a few of you gave me some ways to approach the conversation that doesn't come across as defensive or accusatory. He's told me about those comments in the past, and it always seemed like a joke. I guess hearing it directly in a way that I didn't interpret as a joke sent my mind down this path. I'm just not comfortable being direct about it and asking if he's having an affair. Aside from the scout meetings, he's home every night, and our kids are with him at the meetings. Second, the parent I'm concerned about isn't on this weekend's outing. I'm Facebook friends with her, and she's made some posts that confirm that she isn't there. Third, my husband is not trying to keep me away from the troop. He's been encouraging me to get involved, as have some of the other leaders from the girls' troop they merged with for the pilot. Honestly, it just seems like there's bad vibes here, and I would take the advice of the comments and consolidate all the irrefutable information that you have and make your decision from there. Make sure that it is irrefutable evidence of cheating anything that you can find. I'm going to bet that they are in those messages between him and her, because you don't want to have him flailing and doing some bullshit and obfuscating details when you don't have solid evidence of it. We have gut feelings for a reason, and I think that gut feeling is probably right in this instance. And now, on to the update. I had already planned a vacation day for today, since I have vacation that I have to use up before the end of the year, so I wanted to provide some updates. I wanted to answer a few questions that have popped up on the other thread to add some context. A few people asked why I wasn't involved in scouting and if there were other things going on in my personal life that made me feel this way. I was more involved in scouting when my oldest was a Cub Scout with my husband, but as my oldest crossed over into Boy Scouts, the time commitment increased. I also don't drive because I never got my license in high school, so my husband had to pick up the slack on that. He really wants me to be more involved since our troop is now a mixed gender troop and our daughter also joined. My job also gets in the way of a lot of things. I teach a 4K program in a private childcare center. That's normally a lot of work and it's year-round. My summer is busier because public schools are out and we have more kids. But this year has been harder than normal. We have a new curriculum, a new assessment we have to do on every kid, and the kids are harder because they're either not prepared for my room or they have behavior challenges. I'm up until well after midnight most nights working on lesson plans or preparing for the next day's activities. Although he tells me that I shouldn't work so hard if I'm not getting paid for it, my husband is mostly supportive of my job and will run errands for me and bring me coffee or lunch when I need it. Our local library will ask him questions about the books that I put on hold for my classroom because he usually picks them up. Some of you DM'd me to ask about intimacy. I feel like my needs are being fulfilled. I wasn't sure if his needs are since his sex drive has gone up over the last few years. He had some health issues and was put on high blood pressure medication about 5 years ago, and he worked hard to get off them within a year. He lost weight and works out more. After reading through a few of the posts on here, I know this will come up. He does not go to a gym. He works out on our treadmill and with some dumbbells in our basement. But he's never complained to me about intimacy. He knows about some things in my past and doesn't push. I'm sure he wants it more, but I'm not spontaneous, and it's hard to find time when you have 3 kids and a job that takes all your time. That said, I'm quite pleased with our sex life. My husband was on a weekend scout outing with 2 of our oldest kids when I made that post, and he didn't get back until later yesterday afternoon. I had a chance to talk to him and the troop scoutmaster yesterday. The scoutmaster called me yesterday afternoon because she had a question about the shirt sizes that my kids needed for the new activity shirt that they're ordering, and my husband was out of cell service at that time. During that conversation, I mentioned that the married couple comment that was made at the last parent meeting had made me uncomfortable. She understood and says that she's been trying to stop that. I asked her some questions about my husband and this other parent, and she says that they're more like brother and sister than a married couple. She says that they joke around, but she hasn't seen anything that looks like flirting between them. They will sit next to each other at meals when the adults eat together, but she doesn't see anything that makes her think that anything is going on. I talked with my husband last night. I approached the conversation by raising my concern about the married couple comments. He understood and said that he didn't like them either. He knows that I can have some anxiety issues. I asked if I could look through his phone, and he allowed me to. I looked at their text history, and I didn't see anything that would concern me. Their texts were all about scouting, a few book recommendations, a text or two about crowdfunded backpacking or hiking gear, and a text thread about some advice of a car issue that she was having last year when her husband wasn't around. He also let me look through his other apps. His job involved stuff with computers before he got laid off, so he had a few apps like Slack and WhatsApp. He showed me WhatsApp, and the only messages were with other people that are his former co-workers. He also had Signal, which was locked with Face ID. He opened it without hesitation, and the only 2 conversations were with former co-workers who did something with computer security. My husband also showed me his iPad and Kindle. I didn't see anything on his iPad that concerned me. When I looked at his Kindle, I learned that he likes reading what he called cozy romance novels or Hallmark movies in book form. Our date nights usually involve a Hallmark movie or two. And he told me that he had to research books before borrowing them from the library or buying them on Amazon because he's been surprised by how graphic some of the books get when the summary sounds extremely innocent. After that, I asked him a question that I probably shouldn't have, but the DMs I received and another Reddit post here made me curious. I asked him if he masturbated. He said he did, and he does it in the shower. My husband takes long showers, so that filled in that gap. Then I asked him who he thought about when he did that. He said he mostly thought about me. Sometimes he thought about two musicians/actresses. It feels weird to actually post their names in a thread, so I won't say their names, but one was a late 90s pop star who is now an actress and voiced a Disney princess, and the other is a violinist. After a few moments of silence, he also admitted that he had a fantasy about that other parent and had thought of her in the shower. I wasn't thinking when I asked my next question, it kinda just came out. I asked if he was attracted to her. There were a few more moments of awkward silence before he said he was. But he also said he recognized that attraction and set some hard boundaries for himself. He said that he's kept his texts to scouting-related/adjacent topics and books, except for the one where he gave her car advice. That was just that text, and he never went over there to help her because he was with me that entire day. Doesn't get into situations where he is alone with her, and just treats her like a friend. The only time that he's been to her house is when he was picking up her son for scouting events, and he sat in the car in the driveway while our kids went to the door. He does not meet with her outside of scouting, and when we see them at school band concerts or other school events, we rarely talk with her. He also said that he's more attracted to me than anyone else, and that he's made a conscious choice to not act on any feelings besides the feelings that he has for me. Since I had asked him about other people, he also asked me if I'd been attracted to anyone. I admitted that I think I'm attracted to the other parent of one of the kids I teach. He knows that I only speak to these parents for like 5 minutes a day in the chaos of drop-off and pick-up, and that I don't connect with the parents on social media until after their kids are out of my class. He didn't try to make me feel bad about it, and he said he only asked because I had asked that question of him. So that's where we're at. I think I'm feeling insecure about myself because this other parent looks like I used to before I had kids. She's skinny, she runs marathons and backpacks, and shares some interests with my husband. But he's enthusiastic about spending time with me and meeting all of my needs. And he's home every night with me, and he always has location sharing turned on for me so that I can always see his location. Update: I should clarify something here. When I asked the Scoutmaster about my husband and this other parent, it was about how those other married couple comments got started. She filled in the details about how they interact, but I never told the Scoutmaster that I suspected him of cheating, just that the comments that a third parent made were making me uncomfortable. I told my husband that I had that conversation about those comments with the Scoutmaster. In the comments, Rice Correct says, "I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't sound like he's cheating. It sounds like you both are honest with each other and have decent communication. An unfortunate byproduct of honesty to direct questions and good communication is that sometimes you might hear an answer that makes you feel a certain way. That's what happened here. We're married, not blind. We see other attractive people. It's gonna happen. I know my husband finds some celebrities attractive because I've asked. This is fine. He's probably never going to encounter them, and even if he did, I trust him. He's not a cheater. I wouldn't want to know, however, if he found one of our mutual acquaintances attractive. I'm not stupid. Some of them are. But I don't want to hear him say it, so I don't ask. And I don't worry about it because, again, I trust him. I think you need to learn to let all of this go. Go ahead and get involved in the scouting if you wish. Trust in the life that you have built with your husband. He will find other people attractive now and then, as will you. But hot people don't hold a candle to the one that you've built a happy home and life with. Thanks for the update. It honestly sounds like you and your husband have a healthy marriage. You brought up a sensitive issue, he responded, and was open. You both asked uncomfortable questions and were honest. Good work, and I hope for the best for you and your hubby. Me too, OP. This was a wonderful update. You two did show honest, transparent communication, that we don't see enough on here. This was handled perfectly. I'm not going to go back on my previous advice, though, about getting irrefutable proof. If it was the case, you do want to have that. But this situation shows that he was not cheating, and you went to everyone to get a better idea as to what the situation was. Thank you for giving us that example of how to tackle situations like this, even though it is uncomfortable, even though we don't always want to do that. I, 28 female, am being held hostage at my parents' place, and I don't know what to do. I am so exhausted of fighting. I'm writing this on my phone in a very emotional state. 3 years ago, I made a post about how my family stopped talking to me because I didn't travel back to my home country to get my surgery done. Well, things never really got better. I started talking to them maybe a year after my surgery when they reached out, and it wasn't great. All we did was fight, and any cordial conversations were conversations of no value. Essentially just limited to how's work going, what did you eat, blah blah blah. Last year, they showed up to Australia out of the blue, and I didn't handle that well. My partner and I met them, but suffice to say they weren't very happy. Coming back to today, I came to visit them in India, with my partner staying with us for a week, and then 2 weeks without him. They were adamant they only wanted to spend time with me. I was keen to work on the relationship because I do want to get married and have the option to have potential kids, and I can't really or don't want to do that without them involved in my life. I'm dating an Australian guy, 28 male, who I've been in a relationship with for over 5 years. They made an excuse so that we couldn't stay with them together, but they met up with us for lunch the day my partner was leaving. Ever since I've started staying with them, they started talking about how I should extend my trip. I've made it very clear about how I can't, and I've had multiple fights with them over this. One of them, where my dad started talking about how I'm essentially filth, and I live in filth, and he can't believe that he's been loving filth this entire time. They've been taking me around our relatives and didn't let me leave the day that I had my return ticket. I've cried so much talking to them, but apparently, the plan always is what they want from me. They've said that I'm not allowed to leave anymore because apparently I've become a very negative person and they are worried about me. They have said that the Australian chapter is closed for me and that I'm staying here from now on. I'm so scared, and I really don't know how to deal with this situation, and am looking for advice from anyone at all. I want to leave, but I'm worried that they're going to stand ground at the door from now on and won't let me walk out. My brother is physically bigger and stronger than me, and he isn't on my side either. In the comments, Razmataz Unique says, "Pretend like you're running to the corner shop for something, jump in a taxi to the airport, and never look back. Just leave everything there. You can always buy new clothes, etc. Take your phone, passport, and purse. I just saw your post from a couple of years ago. This family is terrible and abusive, and you need to get as far away from them as possible, as quickly as possible." OP replies, "Thank you for commenting. My boyfriend has said the same thing. He said everything is replaceable, but my safety has to be the top priority. I really want to get back to my safe space somehow, which is with my boyfriend in Australia." Lucy Loves Apples asks, "Do you have Australian citizenship?" OP replies, "Nope, unfortunately not. Otherwise I could imagine Australian Embassy being a lot more involved. You need to get yourself somewhere safe now. Grab your things and leave without telling them and go to a hotel in a tourist city where it would be harder for them to find you. Do not contact them. Once you're at the hotel, book a one-way ticket back to Australia. It may be possible for you to seek asylum in Australia due to your personal safety in India." I guess one of the things that comes to mind is like, why in those 5 years did you not just apply for a partner visa in Australia and get dual citizenship so that you would be protected in situations like this? Which is obviously easier said than done, but at the same time, you've been dating him for more than 5 years. It seems like Australia is a long-term thing for you, especially given how abusive your family is and, how clear it is you can't live with them and you can't be in India with them. I would have thought that you would have undergone that process at some point in the last 5 years with your boyfriend. Also assuming that you want to be with him long-term, like, after these 5 years. Anyway, take the advice of your boyfriend, take the advice of the comments, Get the fuck out of there as soon as possible, at your earliest convenience, and don't look back. You're asking for permission, here is your permission. That is what you need to do. There are no other options. And now, on to the update. Thank you everyone for all your concerns, suggestions, and for giving me hope. I didn't want to update sooner because it struck me very late that there is a small possibility that my brother uses Reddit. The chance of him coming across this post were very slim, but I didn't want to risk anything. In short, I ended up running away from home. I'm still contemplating if the decision that I took was too extreme for the situation, but I think I'll go crazy if I go down that rabbit hole. A couple of friends of mine had a friend, who I met last month but was hesitant to reach out because he was a fairly recent friend in a town 3 hours away, so my boyfriend and my friends planned my getaway. I was constantly surrounded by my relatives and parents to plan things, but for everyone reading, I am of sound mind, and the decision to do this was mine alone. I snuck out the night that we came back home from my relatives on the pretext of going out for a walk, but I know they'd probably have found out not too long after I left. My friend was waiting in his car close to my place, and he drove me to the airport. It was perfect, because booking a cab would have had issues with timing. I didn't know when would be a good time to sneak out, so having a friend around gave me the flexibility to sneak out at my own convenience. The priority was getting out of the country as soon as possible without even knowing what was the best way to get to Australia. This was also crazy timing with the Indigo fiasco. I'm not sure if it helped or hurt our chances. I could only do this because of the immense support from my friends back home who spent a lot of time planning the routes and booking the flights for me, so as to not arouse any suspicion from my family and very little time for them to act. I've had messages from them and a few calls. All I've done is message them that it was my decision to leave and list a couple of points on why and that I'd be keen to work on the relationship if they can try to come around to my life choices. Thank you everyone again, and especially to people who reached out to make sure I'm doing okay. In the comments, quote, I'd be keen to work on the relationship if they can try to come around to my life choices. Mate, you're setting yourself up to be kidnapped again. Next time you won't get out in one piece, if at all. They'll pretend to come around to your life choices and then convince you to come visit again or want to meet you somewhere, and you'll never be heard from again. Don't do this. They showed you who they are and the lengths that they will go to control you. Believe their actions, not their words. They are a danger to you. I'm so glad you got away. Don't ruin this second chance that you've been given by trusting them again. I saw your last post, and I'm very glad and relieved that you escaped. Time to cut contact with your family. Focus on you. Your relationship with them died when they stopped you from leaving. Don't let it continue. You have no guarantee that they won't try this again in the future. I'm really happy for you, but I have to say that you're being naive about your family and prospects of any future relationship with them. They have shown you ample proof that they don't care about your happiness and well-being. They trapped you in their home with the intention of destroying the happy life that you made for yourself in Australia. Your boyfriend, your job, your friends, everything you worked so hard to achieve. I think it's very likely that they would have forced you into an arranged marriage if you had stayed there and not had the support to plan your escape. If you ever return to India and place yourself in their power again, you will be in serious danger. They now know that you want to be free, and in the future, they will ensure that you are completely trapped. They may pretend to accept your life choices and use that to trick you. It's a very personal decision whether you want to go low contact or no contact with your family, but I hope you are aware that you can no longer have that same level of trust in them. I wish you all the very best for the future. Me too, OP. I feel like you were being extremely naive at the end of that post there, thinking that a relationship with them is possible at all. And I think you have been conditioned to accept the abuse that they have given you all of your life. Please listen to those comments. Please take it seriously because this is a very serious situation. I know it's a hard decision, but you have to go no contact with them. I don't think there is another choice here. They will kidnap and disappear you if you allow them to ever know where you are in the future. Like, this is levels of seriousness where you need to have private profiles for everything and not have your location shared, because this family is psychotic and will come after you. Good luck and take care, OP. Our next post is by user ZestyCloseBlock, titled, "My girlfriend found out that I lied about me and my friends playing fantasy football, and I know I screwed up big time. I know it was wrong to lie to my girlfriend, and I probably should have just told her the truth. I lied because I didn't want to hurt her or upset her, but I realize it was still a lie. I've been playing fantasy football with some friends for years. We're all big sports fans, but football's the biggest. Last season, one of the guys dropped out of our fantasy league because he said that it was taking up too much of his time, and he was afraid that it was pushing him into a gambling problem. We needed another player, and my girlfriend watches football, so we asked her to play. I know I'm gonna catch heat for saying this, but it wasn't as fun playing with her as I thought it would be. I don't know if it was beginner's luck or what, but she pretty much destroyed the rest of us all season. It wasn't fun losing to her. So this season, we just decided to tell her that we weren't playing this year. I didn't want to at first, but the other guys insisted. We invited the new brother-in-law of one of the other guys to play instead. I just told her that everyone was too busy to play this year, and she didn't question it. On Thursday night, we slipped up, and she found out that we are still playing. She had to go to work, but she was pissed off. She's been frosty since she got home Friday morning. Next weekend, we're supposed to go on an out-of-state wedding. Her family isn't from Chicago, but now she said she wants to go by herself. I tried to explain, but it just made her mad. It's nothing personal, no one hates her or anything, and I know I'm gonna catch heat in the comments. Every time I try to explain, it makes it worse. I screwed up and there's no way around it, but she was so upset and I don't know what to do to make it better. I know I fucked up." In the comments, "Oh, you definitely messed up. This won't even be about excluding her from something, but about how you were okay lying to her. The key to relationships is communication. My only suggestion for your current situation would be to man up, take full responsibility, and apologize, then sit down and have an honest conversation with her about why you did what you did and what you plan to do to make sure communication is honest going forward. If you're lucky and work for it, you'll be able to build up trust again." OP replies, "Yeah, I know you were right. I make no excuses. I realize I screwed up. Every time I try to explain, I make it worse. I did apologize, but she doesn't want to hear it right now. I understand why she's mad, and I don't make any excuses for lying or hiding it. I should have stuck to my guns when the other guys insisted. Don't try to deflect onto the other guys. They're not in this relationship. You are, for now. They didn't decide to lie, you did. Own up to it and take the consequences. Nah, you were happy to go along with the guys, even though you knew it meant doing something hurtful to your girlfriend. Getting validation and approval from them was more important than your girlfriend's feelings. That's 100% on you. My genuine recommendation in this situation, OP, is to go to couples counseling for this one. You realize that the more you talk, the worse you make it, and you want to save this relationship. If you don't go to couples counseling and get an impartial third party to, stop your brain from saying stupid shit that is making the situation worse and actually speak proper sentences that are not inflammatory, then you will lose this relationship. That is my suggestion here. We are not all born with the ability to communicate in a way that does not piss off others, unfortunately. You were born with that ability, unfortunately, so now you have to find modern solutions to this modern problem. You screwed up big time. You deserve to be iced out by her. It's how you deal with this situation from here that will decide if she sticks with you or not, because you have destroyed the trust in that relationship. You're an asshole for doing that. And now, on to the update. So it's over. I know I screwed up and the writing was on the wall. The worst part is that I have no excuses. I know how badly I fucked this up. I'm not even looking for sympathy here. When my girlfriend got back from the wedding, she asked me why I lied to her. I didn't have any answers for her. All my explanations just made it worse and didn't really explain anything. I tried to apologize, but she didn't want to hear it. It was the worst week of my life. It was almost like she was freezing me out. At one point, she asked me if we ever talked about her in the group chat for our fantasy league. I didn't even have to answer. She just said, "It's not nice, right?" And I think that was the turning point. I never want to see her cry, and the worst part is knowing that I did this because I was stupid and didn't stand up to my friends. She said she doesn't think that we're compatible and we shouldn't date anymore. She didn't want to accept my apologies, and I understand, and I won't bother her now. She went to stay with her family for another week, and now I've heard that she came back because of her job, pharmacist, and now she's staying with friends. But I will leave her alone. I'm looking for another place to live because our lease is up at the end of the month. She left 2 weeks ago, and it feels empty, and the worst part is I know that it's my fault. I barely care about watching football now, and normally I would be excited about it because my team is in first place. If you take anything away from this post, don't put your friends over the person that you love. Learn to stand up to your friends. I learned my lesson after all this. In the comments, so what were you guys saying about her in the group chat? Oh, just some unexamined misogyny disguised as humor, I'm sure. I was expecting that she was being rude or mean or annoying, but just because she was washing them? Soft. Men who can't handle women beating them at something is so pathetic. I couldn't handle the weakness of it all either. Wipes the floor with regular players multiple times in a row? It must be beginner's luck or something. Sounds like she's genuinely better than all of you, bro. If it was beginner's luck, then logically the next season should be cool, right? Dude knows that it wasn't luck. She's just better than them in multiple ways and bruised their ego. I bet if a guy had wiped the floor with them, they'd have high-fived him and admired his skill. But since it's a girl, they go, "Wah, wah, I don't want to play with her anymore." I hope they all stay miserable incels forever. Yeah, that's pretty sad. And the group chat makes it even worse, OP. You are the company that you surround yourself with. So, obviously not positive, because whatever positive company you did have in your girlfriend has now departed from your life. Think about that. Think about in the future how your consequences might have actions and how you might be able to not have this happen again in the future. You're old enough to not be a dickhead, so I think it's time to start thinking with your brain and decide if the company that you're keeping currently is worth it going into the future. Good luck with that. Our next post has a trigger warning for attempted sexual assault and physical violence. This is by a deleted account, and it's titled, "My 25 female, boyfriend 28 male, and his friend/our roommate 27 male found my blog and tried to reenact a scene from a fanfic that I wrote, thinking that because I wrote it, then I'd be down for a cuckold situation. I was not, and ended up biting/punching roommate." Okay, so this is a lot, but please bear with me. I've had the most jarring and stressful 2 days, and I'm at a loss of what to do. I'm not even sure how to explain this. A lot happened in a very short window of time, and it left me confused and scared. But to start, my boyfriend apparently found my blog where I write/post fanfiction in my spare time. It wasn't a secret blog. I've told him about it in passing, but he just didn't seem interested. Most of it is safe for work, but there's some not safe for work stuff as well. Only around 10% of the not safe for work stuff are things that I actually wrote for myself because I thought they were hot. The rest are commissions that people paid me to write. Please understand that a lot of them involve kinks and fetishes that I myself am no way interested in. I wrote them to meet the specifications of the people paying me. I have no issue with the stuff I wrote, though I do have hard limits on what I will write and won't write things that make me uncomfortable. But it just isn't my cup of tea. Now my boyfriend apparently went through and read some of my not safe for work stuff and got a few ideas of things that we could try in the bedroom. Fine. Normal. But instead of talking to me about it in private, he thought that it would be more real and sexy if he were to surprise me. So he went to his friend, who was also our roommate, and got him into the idea of a threesome type situation. My boyfriend is bi, but I'd assumed RM was straight, so I don't even know how that conversation went. But they planned to surprise me when I got home from shopping. When I got home, roommate said that boyfriend went to visit his parents. They live 10 minutes away, and I said, all right, and started putting stuff away with his help. After it was done, I turned around and roommate was literally 3 inches from me and backed me up against the fridge. I've never felt nervous around him, but in that moment I was very scared. He was acting strange and was too close. I asked him to back up, but he refused and said he knew I liked him, which in truth I had. Almost a year before, I'd had a very mild physical crush on him, but I never once entertained the idea of doing anything about it because I was already in a relationship. After living with him, though, the crush very quickly faded. I was mad at this point. He was giving me a very smug/satisfied look, like he knew what I was feeling better than me. He suggested that we get closer, he used a grosser term, and that boyfriend wouldn't have to find out. I was fucking stunned. Roommate and boyfriend have been friends longer than I've known either of them, which is close to a decade. So to hear him just bluntly say that we should cheat together was fucking insane, and I didn't get to say anything besides, "What?" before he leaned down fast and kissed me on the mouth. Everything happened so fast, it felt like I moved in fast motion. I bit roommate on the mouth, breaking skin, and when he pulled himself back, I didn't hesitate and punched him in the face. He ended up on the floor yelling. I grabbed my phone and was going to call 911 when, to my surprise, boyfriend came running out of roommate's room looking panicked. He saw roommate on the floor bleeding and me standing back against the fridge with blood on my mouth. Not a lot, but enough to see. After that, things sort of blurred and we all ended up screaming at each other. I found out boyfriend found my blog, shared it with roommate, and they went through the not safe for work stuff and unilaterally decided the stories were me projecting my sexual desires onto the characters. And boyfriend thought that I would be really into all of us acting out one of the fanfics. I screamed at him that he was a fucking whack job and that all those stories were commissioned work that people paid me to write. I was shaking. I was and still am so fucking mad. I felt sick, like I was going to throw up, because of how scared I got with roommate getting so sexually aggressive with me. I thought I was going to be assaulted in my own home. Boyfriend tried to apologize, but I told him to fuck off. Then I grabbed some clothes and left. I went to my sister's house and just cried after she let me in. I feel bad for that because her daughter was there and saw me break down. I didn't mean to scare her or my sister. Once I wasn't ugly sobbing anymore, I told her everything, and she said that I should call the cops and report them for it. But I don't know if that's too extreme. I don't know what to do. Boyfriend's been calling me, but I've not answered or listened to any of the voicemails he left me. I still feel violated and scared. Too much to think about going back right now. Roommate texted me a few times, apologizing, but I've not replied to him either. I'm just laying on my sister's couch alone at nearly 1 a.m., unsure what to do now, how to move forward. Aside from this huge fuck-up, boyfriend's been a great boyfriend. He's not perfect, but neither am I. But this is really a massive fuck-up, and I feel lost. Do I talk to him? Just break things off? Ghost him? I left all my stuff at the house. Is there any way to salvage this? Would I be dumb to try? In the comments, Demo Beck says, "Oh wow. First off, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Secondly, I think you should take some time off away from your boyfriend. If he thinks springing a sexually aggressive roommate on you without prior warning is okay, then I'm not sure what else he is capable of. He needs to realize just how fucked up that is and earn your forgiveness. Regardless, even if you had begged and begged for weeks for this threesome, there would still be times, dates, place limitations. You would be fully aware. Being sexually attacked in your own home must have scared the life out of you." OP replies, "Yeah, I'm not going to be going back to the house for a while. I just don't think that I'd be mentally okay to, and the funniest part is that we've talked about three-ways before, years ago. Not like we're planning to do one, but we'd been talking one night in bed, and we talked about kinks and stuff, you know? I said I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I'd have to really, really trust everyone involved. I'm not someone who can just sleep with someone that I'm not close to, which roommate is not someone that I'd ever say I'm close to. We were, and I emphasize were, borderline friends, sort of, but only in that we see each other every day and are okay with each other way. I just don't know what happened. Demo Beck replies, I guess that book just slammed shut for a while. Honestly, take all the time you need. Let him sweat. Someone else in this thread put it in the best way. Your boyfriend arranged your sexual assault. From your point of view, that's exactly what happened, and he needs to understand that. OP says, I like to hope that if I actually started screaming or crying, then roommate would have realized something was wrong and stopped. But at this point, I'm totally unsure, and that's fucking horrifying. I'm sorry to say this, but do you really think someone who agreed to this scenario in the first place would recognize that you're not playing along? I can't get my head around the roommate thinking that it would be a good idea. Two men who were close to you went through several stages of failing to protect both you and your trust in them. Personally, I know I would never go back. But love does crazy things to people. OP replies, Christ, I don't want to think so. But fuck, how does he think that this was all right? I feel like I've been doing nothing but crying all day since yesterday. I don't want to start crying again. I might wake my niece, but I feel so torn up. Look, OP, this was just sexual assault. I don't see how you could ever fix this one with your boyfriend, and how you could ever trust either of them ever again after this. The fact that it devolved into a huge shouting match and argument between all three of you, and not like them apologizing for springing this on you and realizing what they did and how messed up it was, I feel like that's all you need to know. You just need to get the hell away from the both of them, stay away from them, and move on with your life. These are not people that I feel like should be trusted going forward, and none of what they did was okay. Do not let the sunk cost fallacy draw you back in. That is not a good idea in this situation. And now, on to the update. So my original post got a ton more attention than I thought it would. Talking with everyone really made me step back and see how serious what happened to me was, and helped me to come to a smart decision, I believe. And a lot of people messaged me and offered a bunch of support and advice that I appreciate. Some asked if I would post an update once I figured out what I was going to do, to see if I was alright, etc. So here I am. To start off, I realized there is no salvaging this relationship. Not after this. There's no way that I can continue to date someone who would actually go through with something this messed up. Especially all on his own, without even trying to see if it was something that I'd even want. Even in the best case scenario, he would just be a massive asshole who didn't look before he leaped into an unthinkably terrible idea. But worst case scenario, this whole thing was a lot more malicious than I'd like to dwell on. Neither option puts him in a flattering light. So boyfriend is now officially X. A couple of days after posting, I finally sat down and listened to / read all the voicemails and texts that X and roommate had left me. I was hoping for some insight into what they were thinking when they did this. But sadly, most of it was just them begging forgiveness in the same breath that they used to make excuses for everything, saying that it was all a mistake, they didn't think it would hurt me, they were just trying to do something nice, that they thought that I would like it, could I please talk to them? Typical stuff that some folks on here told me they would say. Then their pleas for forgiveness slowly turned exasperated and annoyed the longer that I didn't pick up or reply. Finally, X asked me not to do anything crazy, like go to the police, because this was clearly all one big misunderstanding, and if I did, it could ruin how people see them, or worse. That was when it really hit me that neither of them seemed to actually feel bad for what they had done. They weren't ashamed of cornering me and almost raping me. They were just scared that I would tell everyone and they would get looked at funny. I took everyone's advice and filed a police report. I don't feel like it'll even go very far, but people were right. There needs to be a paper trail in case anything messed up like this happens again, be it to me or any other women they happen to enter relationships with. My sister went and sat with me while I told an officer everything. I even showed them the text messages and voicemails. To their credit, the cop who was handling this actually took everything down like he sorta cared. Whether they follow up with anything is up in the air. I wasn't ready to meet in person with either of them, but I needed my stuff out of their apartment, so I waited until I knew that they were both working. Their shifts overlapped a couple of times a week, and when their cars were gone from the lot, my sis, brother-in-law, mum, and I all came and got my things. Thankfully, we got everything of mine out, which included the microwave, living room TV, all the spices and various kitchen stuff, half the cleaning supplies, the lazy boy chair, the washer and dryer, and some other miscellaneous things on top of my personal possessions. All things that they can live without. There's a laundry room available at the apartment complex, and they never actually cook, so they'll be okay. But later, my phone was blown up by ex and roommate when they got home and saw that I'd been there and taken all my stuff when they were at work. I texted them both a message saying that I wasn't coming back, ex and I were over. I got my stuff and left their keys sitting on the table and locked the door on my way out. I even took a pic as proof. Their messages were mostly along the vein of how will they pay rent now, despite both of them making enough to cover it until they get a new roommate, so long as they don't blow their money on frivolous bullshit. I was never on the lease, so legally, I'm fine on that front. I also said that I didn't want either of them contacting me in any way, shape, or form from here onward. I was going to block them on everything, and any further attempt to contact me would result in me getting a restraining order taken out on them. I didn't give them the chance to reply before I did, as I said I would, and blocked them. So far, they haven't tried contacting me, as far as I know, but we'll see. And finally, I'm still not feeling fantastic, but I feel much better than before. I'm still sort of anxious since everything, but I'm sleeping better now. I'm still going to work, but I did take a few days off to recuperate before heading back to the grind. I'm spending more quality time with my niece and sister/brother-in-law, which is nice. I've set up a remote session with a therapist and will meet them via Zoom soon. I think talking through this will be good for me. I just want to thank everyone who commented and made me realize that I'd been badly wronged. I was so ready to let my feelings for my ex influence my actions on this. I'm so glad that so many of you talked sense into me. It doesn't matter who someone is to you. Friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. If they do something this terrible to you, then they probably don't actually love you, and more than likely don't deserve your forgiveness. In the comments, Stop Thinking It's Me says, Jesus, this is way worse than what I imagined based on the title. Having your trust broken this brutally by two people you thought you were safe with. I'm glad she made that guy bleed. Good for you, sis. Quote, I screamed at him that he was a fucking whack job. Okay, I get that people do stupid shit, but this is beyond crazy. OP's description fits perfectly. She's lucky she had family in the area, since she could have been stuck with these losers for a long time during lockdown. Also, lots of respect that she acted quickly to defend herself against sexual assault, because that's what this was. It broke my heart that she referred to actual SA victims. I hope she meant to differentiate between attempted versus completed SA, because she is absolutely, without any doubt, a survivor of actual SA. I couldn't agree more with that, and it breaks my heart just as much that she is referring to them as actual SA victims and, probably still is processing the weight of this situation. This is not an easy one to navigate at all, and I wish OP nothing but the best of luck in getting through this when she does fully process everything. You did the right thing getting out of there, OP. You did everything correct, blocking them, and I'm glad you did file a police report. At least there is a paper trail for if there is a follow-up, because then you can escalate it and have some actual justice. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for the update. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter that she's being cruel by blaming her father for her insecurities about her looks? My husband and I have 3 daughters. They are all absolutely gorgeous. Our oldest, 19, and our youngest, 13, look more like me, while our middle daughter, 17, looks more like her father. My husband has more strong and unique features, but I find him incredibly good-looking, which is why I even married him. Our middle daughter, however, has decided that her father is ugly, and by looking like him, so is she. I feel very sad that she's trying to compare herself to bullshit beauty standards. Unfortunately, she also has been teased at school, and while we've managed to stop that, it hasn't helped the issue. Our daughter's problems with her appearance started when she was around 12, and despite therapy and us trying various techniques recommended by therapists, her attitude is unchanged. But it's really escalated the past few years when she started blaming her father for inheriting his genes. I've shut her down every time, but my husband just lets her blame him if I'm not around. Recently, my poor husband broke down in tears while we were in bed and said he felt really guilty that our daughter looks like him and that he can't help that he's ugly. He's never had issues with his appearance before and was always very confident. I was completely crushed. My husband also said that we should maybe look into paying for some of the plastic surgery that our daughter has demanded. I disagree with that completely, and we fought over it. The next day, I confronted my daughter, and I told her that I understand that she has some serious self-esteem issues, but she's being cruel to her father. This triggered a meltdown from her, and she hasn't talked to any of us since. She hasn't left her room in nearly 2 weeks. She won't even eat unless one of us leaves food outside her door. My husband is gutted and is still blaming himself. Was I wrong to say what I did? In the comments, 3 to the head says, "As someone said, it's just a genetic lottery and she got what she thinks is the short end of the stick." Reading this makes me grateful that my kid doesn't blame me for suffering from a genetic illness that makes my kid unable to do most day-to-day things that other teenagers do. That being said, you and your husband are definitely not assholes, and your kid obviously needs more help than what she's been getting in terms of therapy. It sounds like it goes deeper than just being a bratty 17-year-old. I'm going to vote no assholes here, because we don't know the extent of your child's mental health at this time. I hope she gets the help she needs from a therapist that looks deeper. OP says, "We have tried a few therapists, but none of them have helped. It's been so emotionally draining for years." Not the asshole, but also have you thought of getting her checked for body dysmorphic disorder? Granted, I've had self-esteem issues my entire life and also look like my dad, but I've never felt that it was his fault, and this just seems way over the top, even for just regular teenage self-esteem problems. OP says, she's been evaluated for it, but it's not the case. The therapist says that she's just looking to blame someone for something out of her control, but I think it's very unfair that my husband has to bear that burden. Not the asshole. Being a teenager is the worst, and was when my self-esteem was at its all-time low. So in that sense, I sympathize with your daughter. However, unless she's entirely self-centered or dumb, then she knows what she's doing is hurtful and wrong. If she's already been to various therapists, then sadly I'm not sure what would be the next step. But it's clear that she does need help. Whatever you do, please don't pay for her plastic surgery. That's only rewarding her shitty behavior. She's almost 18. If she wants it that badly, then she can get a job and start saving to pay for it herself. OP replies, "It's not even a matter of paying for the surgery. What she wants sounds very dangerous. One surgery is shaving her jaw down." Look, OP, you're not wrong here. You're just a parent trying to protect both your husband and your daughter from being harmed. You know, what she feels, her pain, is very much real, but that doesn't discount or say that the damage she's causing and by projecting onto her dad isn't real either. You've done what any loving mother would do by defending your husband's feelings and setting limits here. I don't think she's ready to hear that yet, but one day she will. I'm in agreement with you as well. I don't think expensive, invasive plastic surgery is the solution here. I think you just have to focus on stability here, offering therapy again, not rewarding cruelty or reinforcing this distorted thinking with drastic surgery like she seems to want. And I think you gotta reassure your husband too, like, he didn't do anything to her, he didn't ruin her looks, and he doesn't owe her an apology for his genetics. I think you're doing the right thing by keeping this line between compassion and enabling crystal clear. I don't know what you can really do, but I'm a bit on board with a no assholes here suggestion. And now, onto the update. So I've been asked for an update by a few people, so I thought I would share. It's headed in the positive direction mostly. My daughter ended up moving to my parents' house last month, And while my husband and I were upset, the space definitely helped ease the tension at home. I go to see her every day on a walk, but she's still holding a grudge against her father and refuses to see him, which makes him incredibly sad. But one thing that was brought up in the last point was something that made me angry at first, but a few days after, I saw the point. I love my children with all my heart, and to me, they are all incredibly beautiful. But I think that I'm doing a disservice to my daughter by insisting to her that she is beautiful and not really trying to see her point of view. I am very attracted to my husband and find him handsome, but objectively, he doesn't have traditional beautiful features. And my daughter has inherited those features. So I no longer try to convince my daughter that she's as beautiful as her sisters, because she's right that as her mother, I don't see her how she sees herself. And I can't really relate to how she's feeling because I've never had those thoughts. My husband and I have agreed to let our daughter have a consultation with a plastic surgeon once the pandemic is over, and we'll pay for some of the procedures that she wants. But we did agree that jaw shaving is not a procedure that we will be paying for. As much as it'll kill me that she wants to change the face that I love and saw grow up, it's clearly a face that is ruining her mental health. And it's her choice what she wants to do with her body. I'd rather pay for a proper surgeon than for her to do some cheap, illegal procedure elsewhere. My next steps are convincing my husband to get mental help himself for all of his negative emotions that he's been harboring for a while. That's another challenge, that's for sure. And even more difficult is how to fix the relationship between my husband and my daughter. I'm just at a loss for that. I need to get them in a room with a therapist. I'll be working on that. Thanks, everyone. In the comments, I'm glad to hear that you've taken her insecurities seriously, but I would strongly recommend for therapy first before a consultation with a plastic surgeon because she's still a minor. Good luck. OP says she's been going to therapy for several years now. Thank you for responding, and a very good thing if therapy is about her self-image, but very troubling if she's still blaming her father for the way that she looks, especially while in therapy. Is family therapy an option in this case? What does the therapist say about plastic surgery? OP says that's kind of the issue right now. I want to get family therapy, but she's refusing. We're hoping that taking her to the plastic surgery consult will show her that we are acting in good faith, and she'll have to agree to have a dialogue with how she's treating her father. We've done family therapy in the past, but this was before she was blaming her father. OP, when once again told her daughter most likely has body dysmorphic disorder and is handling this wrong, says, I find statements like this really bizarre because I've even stated in my original post that my daughter has been evaluated by professionals. Yes, multiple, and she does not have body dysmorphic disorder. Believe it or not, I have more of an interest in the well-being of my child than you, some random person online. And all the decisions my husband and I have made have been guided by mental health professionals and doctors. Just because you're here accusing me of not caring about my daughter doesn't make it true. Damp Blanket says, making your dad cry from thinking he's ugly because you hate the way you look is some next-level pro-insecurities. Damn. I would probably need a therapist for the rest of my life after hearing that from my own daughter. I feel genuinely bad for the dad. I get the daughter is insecure, but she sounds incredibly cruel to her father, to the point that it's worrisome. For some reason, that comes off as just mean on her part. The daughter may have inherited some features from him that don't align with some bullshit beauty standard, but to go out of her way to call him ugly is a shitty thing to do, and I lost a bit of sympathy for her. Not to mention, those same features may have been amazing on him. You know what, OP, this update really shows a lot of emotional maturity on your part. I'm glad that you have tried to stop convincing your daughter out of those feelings she has and started to, really validate her experience and see where she's coming from, even when it hurts. And I know it does. I think this is progress, even if it kind of doesn't feel like it. It was a good idea to let her move in with your parents and to give everyone some breathing room. I think space will hopefully help this chill out over time. And that agreement to a consultation, I guess we'll see what happens. And if, you set some limits on extreme procedures, maybe it could be something that she works on herself one day to do. I know some people won't agree with it, but I think you're balancing empathy with protection here You're not giving in to her demands. I think you were giving her agency, but with safe boundaries and letting her make her own decisions around this. No matter what she does, I think you can say, you tried everything, and if she ends up getting harmed, that is entirely her choice and her decision. I don't know how much else you could have done here. I really do think your husband needs to go and get some therapy as well, if he isn't. I can't imagine that I'd be happy if I were him in his shoes. That's a lot of guilt and rejection to deal with. And I don't think family therapy will even work here until your daughter, feels like she's ready for it. This really sucks, but it's clear that you love both of them and you're doing everything you can to support both your husband and your daughter through this. Good luck. Our next post is by user DocWario, and it's titled, My 33 male, girlfriend 25 female of 5 months, boasts about me being a doctor and is hinting at marriage and kids already. I don't want to assume anything, but I fear that she might just want me for my money. For a little background, I've only had 2 long-term relationships before her. My high school girlfriend, whom I was with for 6 years, from 16 to 22, and my other girlfriend whom I was with for 4 years, 26 to 30. Both breakups were amicable, no infidelity or shady happenings. They were primarily my fault due to how I prioritized studying and working over them. I'm still friends with my second girlfriend, who is now married to a good man and has 2 kids. In between those relationships and before I met my current girlfriend, I've been keeping things casual. No commitment. I met my current girlfriend 6 months ago at a bar while out with some friends. And as corny as it sounds, it was love at first sight. She was unquestionably the most gorgeous woman that I've ever seen. Easily 15 out of 10. We got to talking, went on some amazing dates, and made things official after 1 month. I was just enamored by her sense of humor, how enthusiastic and exciting she was, and always in awe of her beauty. Although we don't have too many interests in common, the chemistry is tremendous, and I've never felt so strongly attracted to anyone before. We already said that we loved each other 4 months in, and I truly believe it. But lately, some things started to bother me. When she introduced me to her friends, she bragged about me being a doctor. It was seemingly lighthearted, so I laughed and jokingly bragged about it too. When she introduced me to her parents, she did the same thing, but with a bit more gusto this time. Over the last month and a half, she's been talking more and more about marriage and children, although never quite explicitly saying that we should get married and have kids. The hints are strong though. Last week, we went to a charity event that she was involved in, and every single person she introduced me to that night, she said the same thing. Hello, this is my lovely boyfriend, and the man that I will spend my life with, DocWario. He's a cardiologist, you know? I've always been fairly modest about what I do, so it was uncomfortable for me to hear her gush about my job to strangers. I was feeling uncomfortable, but smiled and went along with it so as not to dampen her mood. And the man I will spend my life with part hit me like a speeding truck. She didn't say, my future husband, but fuck me if I don't know what her implication was. I love my girlfriend, and I did believe prior to all of this that I would eventually marry her and have children with her. I didn't expect this to come up fucking 5 months in. Now I'm fearing that she's just a gold digger and is using me as a provider. She moved in after 3 months. I truly hope that this isn't the case, but the signs sure seem to point to it, and if it is that way, I think I'll break up with her. So I'm here to ask, am I overthinking this, or is the worst true? I pray to God that I'm looking too far into this, but now that I'm actually reading what I wrote, this is terrifying. I can't even confront her about this for fear of turning her away from me. I can't accuse her of using me for my money and still expect her to stay with me or respect me after that. In the comments, Dr. H. Des says, she's moved in, but does she contribute to the household, or do you fully support her? In her life plan comments to you, does she mention anything about her future career? Or is she planning to be a stay-at-home mom, and would you be okay with that? OP replies, she said she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, like her own mother was. She doesn't really contribute to the household. I pay the bills myself and also pay for new furniture, appliances, etc. She does pay sometimes when we go out though. Oh boy, you walked right into that one. I'm sorry, but your suspicions might be founded. If you aren't engaged or married, your girlfriend should contribute to the household, even if not equally due to the disparity of incomes. OP says, she does take care of the household stuff, yes. Vacuuming, cooking, laundry, etc. She handles most of it. Throwaway Fart says, you only care about her looks. She only cares about your money and career. Sounds like a match made in heaven to me. OP replies, I realize I come across as shallow. I don't just care about her looks. I will admit that her looks are what attracted me to her in the first place, but her personality is what kept me around. Like I said, we don't share too many common interests, but we can talk for hours about the most mundane things and still have fun doing so. But your second sentence seems spot on, especially after reading what everyone else wrote. Yeah. Interesting situation, OP. I think your gut feeling here is a bit spot on, hey? I think moving in 3 months into this relationship is so fucking fast and insane. What is wrong with you? Genuinely, go compare yourself to other people's relationship timelines and realize you guys are moving way too fast. Maybe move out for a bit, get another 6 to 12 months living apart so that you can have a good feel for what this relationship is, and have like a genuine talk with her about what she is saying to people, how she is advertising this relationship. If you truly believe that you are going to spend the rest of your life with this woman, that should not be a difficult conversation to have at all. Because I'm getting gold digger vibes. I'm absolutely getting gold digger vibes. She's like, I don't want to work a job anymore. I'm normalizing the concept of you paying for everything, me quitting my job and being a stay-at-home mom like my mum, and you're not really pushing back on that at all because we're still in the new relationship energy stage, and she is damn well taking advantage of that, OP. You two have wildly different timelines and definitions of partnership, that's for sure. I don't think you have to accuse her of using you, but definitely start asking questions like, I see you mention my job all the time when you introduce me to people, like, why is that so important to you? You need to have these direct conversations about money, your goals, and what she envisions for the next few years with you guys. And then you decide if you are a mismatch or not from there. And now, on to the update. She's a gold digger. I was fairly certain of this before I spoke to her, due to a particular comment that argued this point in bullet format. 7-year age gap, not the biggest, but a 25-year-old retail worker is worlds apart from a 33-year-old cardiologist in many, many ways. Few common interests. Certainly not a necessity, but often people in relationships share at least some interests. Short courtship. Again, there's no hard rule about this, but cohabitation after 3 months is generally frowned upon because neither party really knows what they are getting into. Introduces you as a doctor. I get introducing you to her parents as the doctor. That would make any parent happy about the situation. But to everyone else, shouldn't it just be my wonderful boyfriend? Income disparity. Again, there's nothing wrong with people from two different economic groups falling in love, but the gap does have to be relatively large, no? Hinting at marriage and kids after 6 months? Dude, as much as you don't know her, she doesn't really know you. It's certainly possible that she's just immature, but with everything else, past relationship history from the comments, having lots of short relationships is again not a bad thing in and of itself, but you have to wonder why they were so short. Was it the guys? Could be, but the common denominator is her. Financial contribution. From the comments, she doesn't contribute to your shared household. Now, if this was discussed and established beforehand, well, whatever works for you guys. And she works in retail, so she can't be an equal contributor with you, but it seems like you've taken on the provider role as a default without actually talking about it. So all of these things, taken together, would certainly indicate that she is a gold digger. But I was still willing to talk it out in the hopes that I could be wrong. On Saturday night, I took her out to dinner at a meh-level restaurant. First omen was that she got a bit miffed and asked why we weren't going to an elegant restaurant like we usually do. I said that I didn't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a meal that night. I could tell that she was annoyed. The food at the mediocre restaurant was still great, but she wasn't very happy during the meal. After dinner, we came home and I told her that I needed to speak to her about future plans. First, I explained that we need to spend less on luxuries and save up for retirement and for my other projects. This is also true, as I do intend to retire within the next 20 years, and I'm looking to get into real estate. She was upset about this. Next, I told her that I don't have any interest in marrying soon or having kids yet. This wasn't a lie. I truly do not want to get married or have children yet. She got upset again, saying that I'm just getting older and soon I won't be able to have a family. She said that it's not fair to her for me to keep stringing her along without committing, and this caused me to do a double take. What the fuck? I let her move in with me. I pay all the bills. I buy her tons of shit all the time, and I'm strictly monogamous. What other commitment aside from fancy wedding is there? I told her this, and she was now visibly frustrated. She said she wants marriage and children soon. I told her that she can do that with another person since we're not on the same page. She started yelling at me for being an asshole, so I told her that one day I would marry her, probably within the next 3 to 4 years. I thought that this was reasonable enough, but she said she wants marriage now, to be Mrs. Doc Wario by this time next year. I told her that we could definitely get married early, but only if we get a prenup. She flipped out, screaming that I don't trust her and think lowly of her. I brought up every point that the other commenter did. I mentioned everything from the income disparity to the astoundingly fast pace of the relationship to her constantly parading me around as a doctor. I told her that all of those facts, as well as her present behavior, proved that she's a gold digger. I told her that we are done. At this point, she breaks down into tears and is mumbling incoherently. I tell her that I'll help her find an apartment and cover her expenses for a month. I called her friend, who's on good terms with me, to pick her up. She left soon after without much protest. She's still at her friend's. She's been texting me asking if she can come home. I agree, and she's coming back tomorrow. I'll serve her the eviction notice tomorrow. I plan to help her search for affordable housing, and I'm willing to help her get on her feet. I know she's a gold digger and doesn't deserve this courtesy, but the last 5 months have been pretty great, and I feel it's the least I can do. Eventually, we will phase out into no contact. That's it for me. It's sad that things turned out like this, but like a few users pointed out, it's better to end things now than years into marriage when I have nothing to talk about with her because we share almost no interests. In the comments, I'm going to take the dissenting opinion here and label you as insecure. You make about $500K a year? That's a big deal, and all women will find that attractive. You're naive if you think that it's not going to matter going forward. Also, she liked you enough to go on 3 dates with you without even knowing that you're a doctor. Also, was she calling you up and asking for money and gifts? Or were you doing this out of your free will? You took her to expensive restaurants. You paid for her shit. These were decisions that you made. I'd be pissed too if my significant other did a complete 180 out of nowhere. It's not about the money, it's an asshole move and deceiving. OP says, I wasn't buying fancy shit out of the blue. She would passively suggest things to buy, like, I think that designer purse looks really nice. Maybe I'll go get it. She gets it, but guess who gives her the money to do so? OP, are you a treater? When you go out with friends, do you always offer to pick up the bill? This all sounds like a problem that you have with saying the word no. If she isn't asking you for the money directly, then why are you treating her words as a request for money? Based on your quote of her, she's just rambling about clothes like any other person does. It sounds like you're assuming that she wants the money, and then you pull out your wallet and hand the money over, while remaining silent about your true feelings, and then you are blaming her because you didn't say no. She didn't open your wallet and take your money, you gave it to her out of your own free will. If you don't want to do something, then say no. Do not blame her because you cannot stand up for yourself. OP replies, when I go out with friends, we split the bill. I understand that I chose to give her the money, but it was obvious that she wouldn't actually buy anything herself, and she would often text me pictures of what she would want, mention the price, etc. I'm glad she's gone. I don't care what everyone is yelling about OP in the comments over. I'm glad that she's out of your life. You may have your personal flaws, OP. You may be a giver. You may be a treater. There is nothing wrong with that in moderation. Obviously, it could be a potential personality flaw that has led to this situation coming to what it is, but a good person will not take advantage of you. They will also understand your limits and will know what is reasonable and what is not. And this woman that you were shacked up with, absolutely not reasonable. She's more like a disease that needed to be removed. And now that she's gone, your life will be better for it. She was using you, you know damn well she was, so thank you for doing the right thing and removing her from your life. Take this as a lesson learnt and avoid going out with people like her again in the future. No matter how good it is, it might be the best thing in the world, it might feel amazing, but hey, don't accidentally bring kids into this world with people like that, because you'll regret it. You will be regretting it, that's for sure. Am I overreacting because my husband won't watch our baby while I'm gone? I, 36 female, am going out of town for a few days. My husband, 39 male, refuses to watch the baby while I'm gone. He basically said that I could just take her with me. She's 9 months old. And I could, but he's her dad, and I'm at a loss as to why he won't watch her for 4 days. My best friend offered to watch her, and he would rather that the baby stay with her an hour away than to watch her on his own. Safe to say, I'm not too happy about it, and we've had some words. I'm just not sure that they were strong enough. Am I overreacting? Edit to add, we've spoken countless times on this, and he says that she scares me, but he's had 9 months to step up and hasn't. It feels more to me that he feels trapped when he's watching her and can't do his own thing. We both work full-time. Baby is in daycare during the day. I am the primary breadwinner, not said out of malice, just fact. In the comments, Moira's Cheese says, not overreacting. If your husband won't take care of his own child, why are you married to him? How could you still love a man that would treat you and your child this way? That's the real question. You might as well be a single mum instead of a married single mum. I would immediately fall out of love with my husband if he ever said this. My husband and I worked opposite shifts, so he took care of our daughters every day that I worked 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. He cooked them dinner, he bathed them, he took them to the park, he took him to the beach for picnics. This is what you deserve, OP. Dude, not the asshole, but real talk? Dude's waving some pretty big red flags. Being a parent isn't a part-time gig. It's a bloody full-time, overtime, all the damn time thing. Yeah, it's tough, but no passing the buck when it's not convenient. Stand your ground, mama. You both made that cute little bundle of joy. He needs to man up and do his part. OP says, thank you. I tend to agree with the red flag assessment. Didn't expect it because he just wanted a kid so damn much. Not overreacting. I assume that you've never left him alone with the baby overnight in the last 9 months. Have you ever left him alone with the baby at all? Like for a few hours while you get lunch with your best friend? If he's cared for the baby alone before, he may just be terrified of being responsible for her overnight and panicked that he'll end up harming her. If he's willing to admit that that's the reason, that's something that Joel can work through. If he's unwilling to be alone with the baby at all, or he refuses to explain what his problem is, then you've got some serious issues. OP says, yes, I've left the baby with him for periods of time, but no, not overnight. If I suggested that, he'd be like, can your mum watch her? It was like pulling teeth to get him to watch her alone for the first couple of times. He had to have a crutch person here, i.e. his friend. Now I can at least go to the store or somewhere for the afternoon and be okay. But it's always, poor me, when I get home. When asked, is the husband working? Did he want to take time off work to care for their baby? OP says, he works full-time, as do I. No, the baby goes to daycare. He would take the baby to daycare to go to work and then pick the baby up the same as I do every day. The baby is in daycare from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. His work hours are 7:30 to 5. It shouldn't interfere with his job at all. Is OP planning to have more kids with her husband? OP says, I'm not having any more children with him. I don't know that his parents are the authority on parenting either. We did couples counseling for over a year from the time I found out I was pregnant until the baby was about 4 months old. Nothing changed. There are other issues, but by the time I was going to tell him that we needed to wait to have a baby, I was already pregnant. But I love my baby so much, I couldn't imagine life without her. Opie responds on if she has taken her daughter with her everywhere. What about her husband? Opie says, yeah, I take her everywhere. The library, lunch, the store, out of town. He's not taken her anywhere alone. He's gone at least one night a week working at his friend's shop, and almost always at least one day of the weekend. But honestly, I've stopped caring, because those times are actually easier when he's not here. Projects range from being on his phone, sitting at his computer and finishing stuff for other people, but not finishing household projects. Back up to the post, there's an update. As you can see from some of my comments, my husband and I have tried counseling. We did it for over a year, but I think we had the wrong counselor. They ended up being very buddy-buddy, so I've signed up for online counseling, and I'm going to see if there's any changes with that. I'm also going to reaffirm boundaries and expectations. I not only want to be happy and have my baby be happy and healthy, but I also want him to be a successful parent. This guy's just choosing comfort over responsibility, like, he's the one that pushed for the baby, he's the one that wanted the baby the most out of the both of you, and then he doesn't step up. He says, oh no, she scares me. I can't be alone with her. Someone else has to look after that thing. Why are you the one expected to do the heavy lifting emotionally, financially, and physically? Like, this doesn't sound like a partnership. This guy wanted the idea of fatherhood more than the reality of what it's like being a dad. You are just being a single mother that is also married, with an extra child that is the husband. Absolutely do not have any more kids with him until something changes. And you know what? It's unfortunate that therapy hasn't really done much. It just looks like you got to do your individual counseling, you got to set some more boundaries with him, and plan for independence if things don't change. I hope he shows up for you, but you have to be prepared for potentially walking out of this marriage. I also think you have to stop cushioning him from the consequences of his actions. You should go on that trip. You should make him face what real parenting feels like and is. Maybe on top of that, make him explain to everyone why his wife's best friend has to raise his daughter for 4 days. And now, onto the update. I went on my trip, and my baby stayed with my best friend. She had a blast. My husband picked her up on Sunday, so he had her for one night. I just walked in the door 1.5 hours ago. He had a doctor's appointment shortly after I got back, which I knew about, but on his way out of the door, he said he was also going to drop his car off at the mechanic and run an errand with his buddy. Those two things I did not know about. No communication, just an FYI and a goodbye. He said he was hoping to be back by 4 to hang out with the family. He pouted for a minute when I flat out said, well, you didn't tell me that you had to do all of that, but ended up just telling him to leave because I didn't want to watch a grown man pout. He had 3 full days by himself to get everything he needed done, but chose the moment I got home to leave. FYI, we had started counseling a week ago, but only had 1 session so far. In the comments, so in addition to him being a lame dad, he's also a lame husband. Neither good nor bad. Null, if you're familiar with databases. Good relationships start with being there, being engaged. He's neither. There's a piece to this puzzle that's missing. And OP says, if you find the missing piece, will you let me know? Ask any question you want and I'll answer them. I don't know if it'll help, but I can try. I don't know if it's something I'm doing wrong. The missing piece is why you have no self-respect. I remember your original post, and you skirted the questions around how you are underreacting and not holding him accountable. Have you ever told him that his behavior is no longer allowed, or you're gone? What is couples counseling going to do when the issue is his lack of responsibility? Why are you even trying to hold half the blame for his personal shortcomings? I'm curious how you grew up that you see his behavior as somehow okay. Was your dad not involved much in your life? Genuine question. It's just so bizarre to me that you allow this man to do this. OP replies, I don't mean to skirt around questions. We tried counseling for over a year, which was my suggestion, but that was a flop. Just when I was about to tell him that we really needed to wait to try for a baby, I was pregnant already. So I knew before I got pregnant that there were issues, and was hopeful that counseling could solve them. As background, and to answer your question, my dad walked out when I was in 4th grade. I do have a fear of abandonment, but I also have a fear of throwing away something if there's the possibility to fix it. I've talked till I'm blue in the face. I've said, with counselor present, that I can't do this forever. I've not given a strict ultimatum, but I have made it clear that things need to change. Another commenter asks, have you point blank asked him what happens if you die? Not to sound morbid, but literally what? OP says, I haven't, but I should. It's very telling that she said that things were easier at home when he wasn't there. There's no coming back from that. When you breathe a sigh of relief when you pull up in the driveway and find his car gone, that's a sign. He's not only useless, he's actively causing problems at home. Her life is going to be so much easier once he's out of it. He's probably going to petition for as much custody as he can get to get out of child support. Of course, he's going to pass on any responsibility to his mother if she falls for it. What a complete loser. Seriously, a complete failure as a father and a husband. Sometimes when my spouse travels, it can be easier managing my kids, but a large part of that is that my kids recognize that there's only one adult around, so they do more things for themselves. It's not intended to be a reflection on our co-parenting ability. It really does sound like he doesn't bring anything to the table, and that's just sad for everyone involved. I hope she cuts off the dead weight. Like, why have children if you want no part in raising them? I read someone's comment in another thread that some men want a child like kids want a puppy. They want the fun without the responsibility. I don't know if that applies here. So, yeah, he was unfortunately bullshitting about the fear of parenting part, and that kind of confirms what a lot of the original comments were fearing. This is and always has been about avoidance and detachment. He saw you coming back as a green light to just clock out again. That is just incredible. Anyone else also pick up on the pouting? The pouting is manipulative. That's the silent treatment, pretending to be hurt feelings. That's just his way of getting out of being held accountable by making OP second guess her frustration. That's wow. OP, I think you need to start asking yourself this as both a person and as a mother. What kind of model does this relationship set for your daughter? Because from what I see, she's learning right now that one parent shows up and one parent disappears. And that's how it goes. That is the healthy relationship dynamic, because that is all that she sees. You've given him more chances than he deserves. When do you decide that enough is enough and you are done waiting for a grown man to choose fatherhood? Our next post is by user HisterWhatNow, titled, My 31 male, girlfriend 29 female, suddenly wants a hysterectomy. Okay, so for some backstory, we've been together for about 1.5 years. We get along fabulously. I love her like crazy. We've had a rough patch, but we made it through, and now we're great. We say I love you all the time, regular dates, rarely fight, etc. Great dynamic. We're both child-free. It was one of the first things that we bonded over. She's been planning to get her tubes tied when she was 30 since before we met. She has an IUD now, so permanent birth control is nothing new. I support her decision completely, But then a couple of days ago, we were talking, and the topic of how she'll be 30 soon came up, and the surgery. Then she drops on me totally casually that instead of getting her tubes tied, she's leaning towards getting her uterus completely taken out. I'll admit, I'm not the most medically savvy, but from what I know and looked up about it, it doesn't seem safe or logical, especially at her age. So it was kind of a bombshell. I said that I thought that it had too many health risks and could send her into menopause from what I know about it. She's just kept repeating that she knows what she's talking about, and it's fine, and not to question her. From what I know, her periods aren't very heavy or painful, and there's no history of cancers, so I have no idea what brought this on. It escalated to a heated argument that led to her saying that she wished she hadn't said anything, and that it's not my body, and storming out of the room. That was a few days ago, and things are still chilly. Neither of us have said anything on the topic. So, what the hell? She won't say why, and from what I've researched on the procedure, it A. seems completely unnecessary, B. could be and is harmful for a woman her age, and C. good luck finding a doctor who'll do it. She's usually super into her health and weighing the risks and benefits, so I don't get it. Am I missing something here? Or am I just being an unsupportive jackass? In the comments, Tossout says, "You don't have to broach the subject or talk about it at all, because they won't remove a perfectly healthy organ. If she has normal periods, no fibroids, no cancer, then it's not coming out. It's beyond too dangerous to perform this on a healthy person for no reason, and it will not happen. It's not a birth control option. It's not elective, period. A doctor will tell her this in due time, so this is not your problem. Stop worrying about this. I just need to correct you, re-menopause. That's only if they remove the ovaries along with the uterus, which isn't necessary and not part of an average hysterectomy. Well, even if you only have one ovary, you're still good." Source: lost an ovary to ovarian torsion 6 months after losing uterus to fibroids. You don't need to know why. You don't need to tell her about medical risks. Her doctors will do that. It sounds like you gave her a lecture, or maybe talked down to her here, and that's what made her get defensive. She doesn't owe you an explanation for her health or body choices, so don't push for one. While in many cases I would agree, if my partner were expressing an intention to have one of their body parts removed for essentially no reason, I would be concerned about what this indicates about their mindset and/or mental health, and I don't think that I'd be able to write it off as different strokes for different folks. I suppose I do think that if you're in a committed, respectful relationship and want to undertake a radical, permanent, life-impacting action, you do owe your partner a good faith effort to explain your reasons and assuage their concerns, as much as you can owe your partner anything. For example, most would agree that if your partner's parent dies, you owe it to them to attend the funeral. Refusing to discuss it at all is at best considerate, maybe disrespectful, and at the worst, could be delusional. Yeah, I see from your point of view, OP, that you handled this one from a place of concern and not control, which is the right path to take, but the way that you communicated is probably, sounding like you're panicking rather than trying to support her, and she is not receiving that as support, and that is what has set her off here. I think both of you guys are right in your own ways. You're right that it's a major surgery with huge risks, and it's not, particularly normal for someone this young and healthy, but she's also right that at the end of the day, it's her body, her choice. She might have reasons that she's not ready to tell you about. Maybe it could be trauma, it could be dysphoria, it could be some deep desire for autonomy after years of being dismissed by doctors. There's a lot of people that can definitely relate to that. Too many people that can relate to that, actually. I think the reality of the situation is that she probably won't get that hysterectomy, so it's best that you just drop it and apologize for whatever miscommunication has happened. You just need to rebuild trust and communication between you guys. You do not need to debate this surgery. And now, on to the update. I got a lot of advice on the last post from all points of view and a couple of messages, so I figured that I'd do an update. First off, she doesn't actually want a hysterectomy. It was a cry for help or a red flag. Also, I'm an idiot. So the day after I made the post, I wanted to clear the air because, like I said, things were chilly and off. So I sat down with her and I had a whole apology planned about doubting her judgment, and clearly she knows her body, and I was just worried because I love her and I support her and so on and so forth. But I only got partway in before she got upset, told me that it doesn't matter because she knows she can't get one and it's not happening. Then I got really confused and said that if that's what she wants, then I'll help her get one and find the right doctor and we can do our research together. She yelled that she doesn't want one and to drop it and to leave her alone. Then she burst into tears and stormed out of the apartment. So I'm super confused and worried at this point. I didn't call because when she gets this upset, it's better to just leave her be, but I sent her a text telling her that I love her and I want to fix whatever is going on. She came back an hour later, still crying, and said she needs to talk and tell me something. I was completely braced for the worst, something like that she had cheated or was pregnant, but I think what she said actually hurt more. She wanted the hysterectomy as a last-ditch resort to intentionally kill her sex drive. Remember how I mentioned that we had a rough patch? That was about 6 months ago. Well, I thought everything was better than ever since then, but what I didn't notice was I've coincidentally taken on some bigger projects at work since then, which has upped my stress levels. And I didn't notice that we've been having less and less sex. She pointed out that we only had sex twice in the past month, and I don't initiate. She also told me that her last 3 relationships ended with dead bedrooms where her partners refused to work on it, so she was scared that it's happening to her again. She then told me that if it keeps happening to her, that there must be something wrong with her and how awful she feels. So she just wanted to not feel anything sexually. Honestly, the whole thing is heartbreaking, and I felt so guilty. She had brought up the sex thing a few times before, but I hadn't taken it serious enough, and I guess she just gave up. Anyways, I felt like garbage, and I've spent every day since trying to make it up to her, and yes, we've been having sex. I've also committed to making sure that I initiate and to actually listen before things snowball. She's happier. She's incredible. I'm much better for actually getting some too, and I'm the luckiest man on the planet. Edit. Wow, this blew up. I've read through all the replies, and I want to address a few things, especially for anyone who didn't read the original post. 1. I'm not being abused, I'm not being manipulated. The hysterectomy idea was brought up as an option to permanent sterilization. It's part of an ongoing conversation. We are child-free. She had planned to get her tubes tied when she turned 30 since before she met me. It probably would not have escalated to this if I had just said, okay. It was when I reacted strongly that she got defensive. 2. Therapy. Particularly couples therapy was already suggested between us, and we are probably going to go for it. She admitted that she has some baggage surrounding her previous dead bedroom relationships, and because I wasn't listening and she figured that getting her ovaries out was a potential solution to something, I didn't think that it was needed to go into detail like this, but she said when we were talking that she was surprised at how heated that she got over the issue. She also realized after the fact that no doctor would take her ovaries out voluntarily. 3. For the people that missed it, we generally communicate pretty well. I just missed the sex talk from her for 6 months. Again, something that can hopefully be addressed with therapy. If every bump in the road or accidental miscommunication is breakup worthy, jeepers. Good luck, you guys. I'm glad everything worked out in the end, OP. This was a very, very good outcome. It was a much sweeter turnaround than we usually get here. It was messy, but it was very real. And yeah, it showed that she wasn't trying to hurt you at all. She was just crying out for connection, and I'm glad that you guys finally got that. I guess that hysterectomy talk was just how her fear came to the surface. And this chat that you had was more just like a deeper conversation you guys had been avoiding, and now I hope you're actually listening to each other, because it sounds like it. I hope that's the truth. Now that you have connected like that, keep that line of communication open, because I think that will matter way more than whatever sex frequency you guys are having in the long run. Thank you for the story and good luck. Am I the asshole for leaving early after my girlfriend's kids mocked my name and she brushed it off? I, male 40, have been seeing a woman, female 36, since July. She's fun to hang out with. I have a busy work schedule and she has 2 kids, so we usually get together when she's child-free and I'm not working. She asked me to meet her kids in October, but I told her that I wasn't ready yet. She asked again in November, and I said maybe after the holiday season. On Saturday, I was supposed to go to her place at 5 p.m. When I arrived, her kids were there. I introduced myself. I'm French-Canadian, and my name is common in both French and English. I always introduce myself by saying, "Hi, I'm Sebastian," in the French way. But I tell people that they can call me Sebastian or Seb if they like. The kids, 10 and 12 years old, both girls, started laughing and said, "Sebastian? What a stupid name." They started making fun of my name. I said it's actually French, since I'm French-Canadian. They started laughing even harder. Then their mum came in and said their dad was supposed to pick them up, but he had cancelled, but that it was okay, and we could have a nice, fun family dinner. The kids again said, "Yeah, with Sebastian, ha 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 ha." Their mum smiled and said that they're just kids and laugh at silly things. I felt very uncomfortable. I made an excuse and left within about 15 minutes. Now my girlfriend is mad, saying that I bailed on her and ran away as soon as I saw the kids, like a pathetic coward. Was I an asshole? Did I overreact to the kids' behavior and her brushing it off? The whole thing made me feel really uncomfortable. In the comments, Embarrassed Rose says, "Not your kids, but you do understand if their parents haven't been divorced long, they're probably out to sabotage any relationship, hoping they get back together." OP says, "They've been divorced for 3 years." LeBeurle says, "In the end, it sounds like you're not ready for kids in your life. I would seriously recommend reconsidering your relationship status." OP says, "I'm not ready? If they were my kids, I would have told them to apologize immediately, because it's disrespectful to make fun of other people's names and their language. I would have taught my kids manners. Sounds like you let kids walk all over you so that you can hook up with their mum." Individual Bat says, "Introducing you to the kids after 4 months is wild." OP replies, "She said she was a package deal, and it's important to see if her kids like me. I wasn't feeling comfortable yet, so I suggested at least after the holiday season." No Owl says, "So you were basically bullied by a 10 and 12-year-old boy? If a guy can't handle a joke about to your name and runs out the door, probably wasn't the right one for mum anyway, to be honest." OP says, "You really think the solution was engaging in bullying back a bunch of kids? Look, I've met plenty of French Canadians. Sharp tongues. The girls wouldn't have stood a chance. But after that, neither would your relationship." OP replies, "French Canadians have sharp tongues? Why, because we don't like to be made fun of? Like, no, we don't tolerate bullshit, that's for sure." I love that the OP only ever replies to, the downvoted comments and the people shit-talking him, because it skews the perception of the situation and all the people responding to be, heavily against OP, when I feel like most people are on his side. He obviously didn't leave because of the kids here. He left because of how the situation was handled by the adult in the room. Kids test boundaries. That's normal. We're used to kids constantly testing boundaries and testing new people. It's the fact that she brushed it off, smiled along, and then turned that cancelled pickup into a family dinner after he said he wasn't ready to meet them yet. That was the real problem. 2 boundaries crossed in under 15 minutes. I understand why he did what he did. Meeting kids is actually quite a big step, in my personal opinion. I don't think it's such a casual thing. I don't think it is something you spring upon someone. And definitely don't minimize the disrespect when it happens, OP. especially when it's directed towards your identity, like your name or your culture. I think at the end of the day, this was just a mismatch. You were uncomfortable and made to do something that you didn't agree to, and her reaction afterwards, calling you pathetic instead of acknowledging how awkward what she did was, confirms that mismatch. I'm with OP on this one. And now, onto the update. So I wasn't planning to post an update, but here it is. Since yesterday, my now ex has spiraled. She sent me like 20 messages in the morning on Instagram saying what a loser I am, that I'm a weak, pathetic pussy, that I would be a terrible stepdad, and that she was planning to have a baby with me. Well, that was news to me because we never even talked about this. And then she deleted all of them. When I checked my phone after my work meeting, she had sent another 20 messages saying how much she misses me, that we could get through this, that we belong to each other, and asking me to call her. I didn't answer. She deleted all of those too, and then sent another million messages swearing at me. Oh, and she deleted those too. She sent new messages and said I was abusive because I gave her the silent treatment. I messaged that I didn't know what was going on, that I was at work, saw all her messages, and then checked my phone again and saw the opposite of her first texts. I said I wanted to give her time to calm down, and then we could talk. She said not to bother, and that she hates me and blocked me, and then she unblocked me. Apparently, she also posted my image in a local "Are We Dating the Same Guy" Facebook group to warn other women about me. My coworker was in that group and showed me. She said that I was emotionally abusive and terrible with kids. At this point, I'm going to take a break from everything and focus on Christmas shopping for my nieces and nephews. Dating in your 40s is something. In the comments, Lost in Nothing Box says, "Never ever get involved with single mums." OP says, "My mum was a single mum. My dad died when I was 4, when she met my stepdad. My stepdad, I call him Dad, is a great guy. My mum always made sure that we are nice and polite to him as he was going above and beyond for us." Count yourself very lucky that she exposed her insanity before getting knocked up. I sure hope that you were using birth control. OP says, "I was, and supposedly she was on pills. My coworker thinks within a few weeks I'll get a message from her claiming that she's pregnant. I really hope not. You should probably defend yourself, unless you don't care about your reputation in your community." OP replies, "The thing is, my coworker is in her 20s, and we are not even close. It would look so weird, a young woman defending a 40-year-old dude. I really don't want her to be involved in my mess." Waffle Dynamics says, 10 and 12 is way too young to be making fun of someone's name. It's way too old to be rude to a guest. Obviously their mother never taught them manners, and on top of that, she's unstable. The trash took itself out. Now I'm wondering about the ex/father due to what happened to OP within those 3. Did he remove himself from the trash and decide when or if he wants to be around them for custody and visitation time? She is a fucking dumpster fire. What is wrong with her? So, this was never about the kids or the name. This is, her lacking emotional regulation and boundaries entirely. That rapid cycling between rage, idealization, insults, the reconciliation attempts, then the accusations, then the blocking and unblocking, and then the public shaming. She is loosey-goosey in the membrane. Especially for such a short relationship where OP genuinely did nothing wrong. Her reaction is fucked. That's not something that OP could have fixed. Like, that was gonna come out eventually. Getting away from her was absolutely the correct move. Saying that OP was abusive for not immediately responding when he's at work, I would judge someone if they didn't think that was a red flag. Also, the reputational damage from that post, I don't know what you do about that. Do we have any ideas, guys? I think he just needs to take screenshots and keep records of this in case something escalates in the future. I don't think we avoid single parents after this as well, but more so pay attention to how people handle stress, rejection, and boundaries very early on in a relationship. I'm glad that she outed herself. Good luck, OP. That does not sound fun. Our next post is by user Brock2845, and it's titled, Wife 30 female, asked for a break with me 30 male. We've been together since December 2019. We have 2 kids who are 2 and 4. I messed up. I didn't show up enough and took her for granted. I was somewhat controlling on some aspects of our lives. I totally agree. I want to do better, and wham! Break. Anyways, it broke my heart to have that break. I also had to leave for weeks for training. She told me when I got there, but now that I'm doing better, I don't understand the terms and conditions. What I mean is, she insisted. I asked that we remain faithful to one another in sobs, that she wants the right to have sexual intercourse outside of marriage and not owe me a thing. This can go both ways, ... She asked me to show up during the break. She said, you can touch me, kiss me, who knows, maybe we'll even have sex. Does that mean that I have to act like I would had there been no break? I feel like it's contradictory. I don't understand the idea of a break, to be honest. I'm mostly looking for advice on how to navigate this situation. As much as I feel I want to do as she asks, I also feel completely like, we're on a break, I shouldn't do that. I should give her space, despite what she asked. In the comments, Nylon Vest says, reality check. She's not interested in preserving the marriage. She has someone lined up that she wants to have sex with, maybe somebody that she's already having an affair with, maybe it's not physical yet, maybe she wants to bang a whole bunch of people, who knows. But what she is not interested in here is fixing things with you. This is her first step out the door, and I don't think she's interested in coming back. If she does, it's because she couldn't find anything better, not because she really wants to stay. And honestly, I wouldn't trust that she wouldn't still be looking for another better option, even if this break ever ends. There's a good chance that she already has another man in mind, wants to test it out while keeping you as a safety net. Lawyer up. She already has that guy picked out and is gonna fuck him with or without your permission. Then she's gonna say that it's your fault that she went looking elsewhere for sex. Rip your marriage. Whenever someone wants a break and the story makes it to relationship advice or r/marriage, that's it. That's the end of the relationship. If it's that bad that you have to come to the internet for advice, chances are you're just asking for everyone to tell you it's gonna be okay, it's alright to divorce and move on from this person. Because if it was a proper break and you guys could work this one out, the break would have structure and purpose. But you don't know the goal, you don't know the timeline, you don't know what happens at the end of this. And that's intentional. She doesn't want you to know. I'm sure you can ask her directly what the break is meant to accomplish, whether reconciliation is actually on the table, how long it all lasts, what boundaries exist for both of you. You can do that, but I don't know, man. I don't see this marriage lasting after such a nasty time with her, that's for sure. And now, on to the update. Well, I came home this weekend. I got my kids at my in-laws, did their routine, and they went to sleep. Wife was at a work party, allegedly. We were in the process of moving, so I expected a lot of clutter and boxes. There was. What I didn't expect was how everything looked like it had been abandoned very quickly and messily. Not complaining here, it just looked eerie, like how some movies show homes where people left in a hurry in war zones. Trash bins overflowing, meat packages that had been, by the smell of it, left in the bin a while. Dog looking like he'd been left a long time alone. I came home at around 7:30. Everything looked weird. The hair straightener left on the toilet sink, unplugged, thank God, and hemorrhoid meds between the toilet sinks. I'll come back to that. Anyways, I'm not complaining here. I'm just trying to demonstrate what I saw in a few minutes of coming home and putting the kids to sleep. So I started taking the trash out, and when I'm tired, which I am both because of training and lack of sleep because of break, my hands get wet and slippery and I get clumsy. I dropped the bag in our room on the ground. Lots and lots of facial tissues came out, which would be weird. She never seemed like she had a cold when we spoke. Then, there was one which looked like it had poop and grease on it, hemorrhoid meds. Again, everything looked like the house was uninhabited, and I left in a hurry. That smelled in our room. Now, my wife gets hemorrhoids sometimes when she's not prepared for backdoor activities. I'm trying to be PG to not be flagged, and she'll put the medication straight on the towel that we'd put on our bed to avoid accidents. So this was not proof, but worrisome. So I took the other papers and took everything back in the bag. Almost. There was a pharmacy bill torn in pieces, quite high for our usual needs. We have no regular prescriptions, and a medication that gave me every single detail that I needed to know about. Plan B. Bought on November 30th, paid for the day that she asked for the break. I texted her and asked what that meant. I honestly didn't even feel anger. Despair was what got to me. I fell to my knees. She only answered, "Okay, wow, not coming back tonight. See you tomorrow." The next morning, I got the kids up and went to a friend's place. Our kids played together, we spoke, and I came back home for the nap. I wanted to talk to my wife. She kept refusing. She kept trying to delay. She went to a friend's place and said that she would be there in time for the nap. She still delayed, saying that she would come, but she was eating lunch, and then needed to help our friend with something, etc. I had time to clean what had been left behind. The toilets were filthy, the bath had been grimy from a sort of bath salt that had been bought at a sex shop, the sink had residue caked on it. When she finally got there, she was more belligerent than ever. Arrogant answers, telling me how irresponsible I was. I chose to leave. She berated me on how much I had left for her training for the kids and was still leaving her with them. I agree. However, if they hadn't been napping, I'd have taken them with me. The next morning, I came home again. We spoke for hours. At first, she wouldn't even admit her cheating on me. She said the morning after pill could be for someone else, you don't know. She kept circling around what I knew to be true. When she started being more truthful, she admitted everything, before refusing to admit a single thing. She was obviously uncomfortable with what I knew, uncomfortable with admitting adultery. At some point, I said the word that we both knew was coming. Divorce. She cried. A lot. She apologized for her actions. I maintained my position. We are divorcing. As a rhetorical question, I was sure of her answer at this point, I asked, "Okay, let's say that we try to mend things between us. Would you agree to never speak to this guy?" The guy was a close friend to her before they got to friends with benefits stage, and they're falling out of it. She didn't answer. She just lowered her eyes. This was the answer. I packed a few things for our move, and for my training, I had lunch with the kids and then put them to sleep for their nap. She tried to do the dishes and kept crying. I got out, brought the things for our move. She called me and seemed happier. We spoke for 45 minutes. Until I asked for an adultery divorce. In Canada, it makes the divorce almost immediate versus a year for a regular one. I felt her voice change. She lied again. She said she was worried that someone would look at the marriage registry. False. It's not public. I insisted calmly. She started raising her voice and getting erratic. I recorded this part of the call. I was feeling threatened by the way that she was talking to me. At some point, she denied her adultery. She said that I had been cheating on her for 2 years with my friend, who let me sleep at her place. I supported my friend during her separation, and she's helping me through mine. Nothing ever happened between us. The phone told her that I was recording. She started threatening me to put my things in the trash or on the street, and that I'd come to get them when I could. By the end, she once again cried. She's terrified of paying me alimony because my salary isn't good at all for the moment. As long as I train, I'm almost not paid, and my previous job paid $40,000 less than hers. I honestly don't understand her anymore. She's acting like everyone she kept judging for their separation, not admitting cheating, not wanting to. I don't want to get back with her. I just want a transparent relationship as co-parents. If it goes well, we could be friends, but she keeps lying to me. We had scheduled couples therapy before I said I wanted a divorce. I don't feel like it helped or will help. I'm looking for resources to help me/us navigate our separation in a more respectful way. I'll be meeting a psychologist on the 22nd. In the comments, King Thunderflash says, contact a lawyer. Get a DNA test done along with an STD test. Document everything. Only contact her through an app so every communication with her is documented. OP says, STD test is coming soon. I had wanted sooner, but I just don't have time. DNA testing is something that I didn't think about. I'm trying my best to speak to her through recorded means of communication. She sounds like she's being defensive, possibly because she doesn't want the humiliation of being confronted with her actions. You are trying to be rational, she is not ready to be by the sound of it. You may well want to do as much as you can through mediation in order to impose ground rules, which may make her kick off, but she's probably going to anyway. What advice are you looking for? OP says, I'm looking for anything that could help me, her, or us have a respectful relationship for the good of our children. I have a meeting booked with a therapist, but is there anything more that I or we could do to benefit the kids? Stop talking to each other? Actually having family dinners together? I don't know how I can limit the impact on the kids, especially since we were in the process of moving to our new house. This year won't be the best for them. Intelligent Reed replies to OP, divorce lawyer. Get one and have them handle everything. A bit of separation now to stop resentment. Damn, OP. That was, a lot. I think we answered the questions surrounding the break. There was a lot of, lying, delays, denial, flip-flopping, accusations. Yeah, your marriage is done completely. Pretty sad that the one boundary you asked for that would show that she actually has any accountability at all, cutting contact, she couldn't give you a straight answer. I think that tells you everything you need to hear. You just gotta take the advice of the comments there and document everything, get legal advice, protect yourself, and protect the kids. This is gonna be incredibly rough going forward. You are doing the hardest part already, getting out of there ASAP. I hope you get some therapy because I think it will help. And it will help you not to second-guess your decision of leaving her ass. You didn't blow up this marriage. She did. This is all her fault. Please never blame yourself. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update. Am I the asshole here for telling my family that they are never going to be a part of me or my son's life? So in 2020, I, 30, did something horrible to my family by stealing from them to fund my addiction. I stole some electronics, including old cell phones, a game console, and a Blu-ray player to buy heroin. I cannot and will not justify these actions and fully accept them as my own and their consequences. I was caught, and my family became aware of my addiction. It was hard to see my parents realize what was happening, but the hardest was seeing how heartbroken my 17-year-old little sister was. They dropped me off at a rehab center where I spent 3 months getting detoxed and sober. I did not hear from them while I was in there. I tried calling to let them know how I was, but I never received an answer. The day that I got out, I went back home. My family there informed me that they would no longer be considering me a member of the family and that I was to leave the home and not contact any of them for any reason. I attempted to stay with other family, but when I contacted my grandparents, I was told that my parents had called them and several others to tell them that if they kept in contact with me in any capacity, they would cut off contact with them as well. I was able to see how my sister was doing via my mother's Facebook posts, but after liking one, I was messaged and told that I'm allowed to look at the posts, but all other family members will be blocking me, and I am not to interact with my mother's posts. I was completely destroyed and left on the streets. I stayed in a homeless shelter and got a menial job, enough to get a run-down apartment and slowly put my life back together. I went through therapy to process the extreme grief I felt. I focused on work and did school online enough to finish my degree from when I dropped out at 21. I was able to secure myself a very good position several states away and moved there as soon as I could. 3 years ago, I met a woman who is now my wife. Her father went through a similar struggle with addiction, and her family welcomed me with open arms. Last year, we got married, and 3 months ago, we welcomed our son into the world. Of course, being a proud new dad, I posted my boy all over social media to show him off to the world. Since then, I've been inundated with calls and messages telling me that my parents want to meet my son. I have no plans to allow that. My family abandoned me at my lowest and actively worked to cut me off from any familial support that I could have had. I am not owed forgiveness for my actions, but I can't pretend that what they did was anything less than complete disownment of me at my most vulnerable. I told them, not very politely, that I do not consider them my real family, and that they are to come nowhere near me, my wife, our son, or anyone related to us. I've been getting messages daily about how I never earned their love back, and am cheating them out of having a son again. And thus I owe this to them, from my parents and others. I am not giving in at all, nor do I ever plan to. Am I the asshole here? Edit. There's been a lot of replies along a broad spectrum of opinions and takes. I may not have replied to them all, but I did read them all. For now, I am stepping back. My wife and I have decided that we are going to be speaking with my parents via a video call and discussing the past 5 years and where everyone stands as of today to gauge where we all are and decide how to move forward. I'll be taking everything that I've read here into consideration in how I decide to approach this situation. I've seen a lot of people wanting updates. I will post an update on this when the dust has settled and I can say with some certainty what's going to be happening. Thank you for all of your words of kindness and otherwise. Every one of them is appreciated. In the comments, OP wants to add some context here that I initially left out for the sake of brevity. My parents and I, especially my father, did have some strains in our relationship before all of this, but it was unrelated to my addiction. My father is an extremely strict traditionalist who had a very clear path for his only son that included me getting an electrical engineering degree and taking over his business. I had zero interest in that. I've always loved writing and wanted to pursue that, so when I got the chance in college, I switched to an English major to pursue professional writing along the lines of technical writing and copywriting. This made him extremely upset. It did not help that I am openly bisexual and was dating men and women when in college. When I came out, I expected some resistance, and did receive that, but his disappointment was mostly unspoken, even if still palpable. I dropped out of school and began working full-time before I finished my degree. The workload on top of my already poor mental health put more strain on me than I could handle at the time. Of course, this made him very upset as well, but he was holding out hope that I would turn out how he intended at some point. I dated a man who was using, and I used with him to cope with the issues that I was having. He let me use what he could get his hands on, and in return, I worked and paid the bills for the apartment. I lost my job and was close to eviction when we broke up. Then I began selling my belongings, and in a desperate bid, stole from my family. I was caught after that single time stealing, and that's when my addiction came to light. Again, I offer no excuses for stealing. I made that choice, and accept that they felt the need to cut me off, even if it took years to reach that point. But they went out of their way to ensure that I had no one, effectively abandoning me and erasing me from the lives of the entire family. They did this to me knowing that I would have no one. The only reason they want back in my life now is because I have something they want. My son, their grandson. They don't want to see me again because they love me or because they care about my recovery and success, and that's why this situation hurts me and infuriates me so much. I'm personally torn on situations like this because I don't know how you balance giving unconditional support to an addict that does not want help and has actively been stealing from you and damaging the lives of those around you, while also maintaining strict boundaries with them so that they can't just continue to be enabled by you and your cohort of family. It's a tough one. I understand why his family did that, because they needed him to hit rock bottom and want to help himself first before the family could open up to him again. Because I am very much jaded in that regard, that if you give any quarter to an addict, they will continue to take as much as they can from you because they don't care. All they care about is their addiction. So in some ways, I'm very much in support of what the family did to OP here. I think the mistake was, once they recognized that OP was on the path to redemption, they didn't start opening up support avenues to then rebuild that trust and connection. At this point, OP doesn't want a relationship with their family. Just take your wife's surname and make it clear to both families who you actually consider family, and continue your life as it has been going. There was no way for you to earn their love back when they made every possible effort to shut you out of their lives. It's a difficult one. Getting rehabilitation for heroin addiction is incredibly difficult. It's nigh impossible for a lot of people, so I very much commend you for that. I'm proud of you, OP. You're not the asshole for telling them that they're never going to be a part of you or your son's life. I understand. And now, onto the update. So a little bit back, I posted a thread on this sub. I want to thank everyone for their words, both kind and unkind. I look back on that post and feel like I did not hit the mark in some areas for how I expressed myself and the situation, and so it was interpreted in wildly different ways by different people. I initially wanted to address those, but to be honest, I'm ready to leave this behind, so I'm not going to do that. The only thing that I will add clarity to, since it came up several times, my family did not pay for my stay in rehab. I was making less than $20,000 per year, and my employer only offered an HSA for health benefits. So I qualified for Medicaid and had been on that since I moved out of the house. Medicaid in my state pays for the cost of inpatient rehab, and this is how my treatment was funded. For the sake of brevity, and so that I don't dwell on it longer than I should, I will briefly run through some relevant context and a short summary of what my father expressed to me during our conversation. To add some context that I think explains his mindset, I'll give some of my father's history here. He came from China to the US to attend college and fell in love with the country. My father hates China and communism. He saw America as a land where he could have the opportunity to thrive in ways that he couldn't in his home country. So he married an American woman and stayed here, starting his own business. My father's dream was that one day he would pass this business down to his son and then to his grandson, continually passed down as his legacy. He was very much a tiger parent, and my mother, having always been very submissive, followed suit. I've been told from a young age that this is what my future would be, and my life was curated around it, down to what university that I would attend and my major. All of this will give context to my father's position. The call was just me, my wife, and my father. It was a long and awkward conversation, but here's the gist of it. My father regards my bisexuality and my decision to not finish college as direct actions of ungratefulness to his efforts in raising me, and feels that I've not been thankful that he did not take action against me earlier. Me being bisexual still left room to marry a woman and have children, so he did not interfere with it. He could still teach me how to manage the business, even if I needed to hire others to help with the physical labor involved with it, so he got past the fact that I dropped out of college. However, it was not the stealing that broke the camel's back to him. It's the fact that I used drugs at all. He was upset that I had stolen from the house, but to him, it was ultimately inconsequential compared to me abusing a substance. The fact that I used drugs at all meant that I could not be trusted with his legacy, and since I could not continue to the family legacy, it was necessary to cut me out of the family entirely to avoid the shame of having an addict among them. He made it clear that this is how he felt then, and that his feelings have not changed, nor will they ever change, no matter how clean I stay or how successful I become, because I ruined his dream. Despite this, I owe him a debt of gratitude by leaving the family vacant of a son to pass his legacy down. Now that I have a son of my own, there is potential that my father's legacy could be passed down to him. As someone who used drugs, this necessitates him and my mother stepping in to ensure that my son is raised properly into the position that I was to inherit. I did not get to speak to my mother to ask her about the messages that she had sent me. The call ended pretty abruptly when my wife realized that it wasn't a conversation that would go anywhere. I was in a bad spot for the weekend after that Friday night. I cannot express with words how thankful I am that my wife was there to help me stay sane. I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing everything possible that I can to be as much of a rock for her as she is for me. Right now, most of that is in the form of taking on any and all housework, in addition to doing my part to take care of the baby while her body recovers. As our son grows up, I'll keep finding new ways to let her know how much I appreciate her. As for the future, this is what we've decided. On my part, I'm going to work a lot less. For those wondering, I ended up being a technical writer, and it's a job that I'm quite good at. It also pays for us to live very comfortably, even if I go well below a full-time work schedule. When I met my wife, I used work as my distraction. Marco Pierre White was correct when he said that work is the best painkiller mankind has ever come up with. However, I don't think that this is a healthy way to cope now that I have a child. I've decided that I'll use the extra time off work to attend an extra therapy session every week for more intensive treatment and to help develop some better coping mechanisms that don't involve me working myself into an early grave. As for our son, we've decided that my parents will not be a part of his life for the foreseeable future. We aren't sure what we will tell him, but as he grows up and we see more of his personality, we plan to speak with a counselor who has experience in child psychology to find a way to approach the subject that won't be distressing or confusing for him. A lot of people mentioned the idea of me taking my wife's name. We floated that for a bit, but ultimately, we've decided that we will be choosing a new family name entirely. It feels more like a fresh start for a new legacy. We aren't sure which name we will go with yet, but we hope to have that done by the end of the year. And honestly, that's pretty much it. There isn't much else to report. I know this update will get a wide range of responses. Sorry to disappoint, but I will not be reading or responding to any of them. I know the man that I've become. I know I am a capable father and a loving husband. I know I have a disease that puts me at a disadvantage when it comes to anyone's trust or respect because of my choices in the past, and I know that despite them, I will continue to be the best man that I can be for my family. And as much as I appreciate all the responses, I don't need to hear strangers on Reddit praise and condemn me to know that it's true. I'm going to log out of this account after posting this, and I will not be logging back in. Thanks for reading. Thanks for sharing that, OP. It sucks that your dad views you only as an asset, only as an investment. He doesn't view you as a person. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. It makes a lot more sense as to why no one ever reached out to you. And it also sucks that your mom was complicit in all of it. They don't deserve you being in their life. They don't deserve your child being in their life. Your past is a part of you, but it doesn't define you going forward. And I really do think that getting a new last name is a very good idea, OP. It's amazing that you have a wife that sees what you are going through and supports you through it all. That's what we want here. I hope you continue to build a life with people that love you unconditionally and that those people love you the same way. It's what you deserve. It's what you need. Thank you for the story. Thank you for the update.